What's going on, everybody? Welcome to tonight's broadcast of the ACL. We are coming at you with the lower bracket. This would be lower bracket round one, I think.
Yeah.
The first round of the lower bracket
Yeah.
here for the ACL. First time we're going to get playoff teams eliminated here, so we will be shrinking the field down from 16 down to our top 12. We are featuring some teams that maybe not everybody had on their pick'ems coming up into this stage. It's going to be Flippers taking on Calamity Esports for a spot in the top 12. Loser will be going home content with 13 through 16.
Exactly. It's not going out before the playoffs, which is nice and all, but this is now do or die. We have to see the teams step it up tonight tonight and going forwards, because if not, you're out of the tournament, you're out of any potential to fight for the top at the ACL. And the teams, even though there was not much expectation of them being able to get here, it is quite good what they've been able to demonstrate beforehand. But also now I feel like they are in a spot where they can even go farther than that and become the dark horses of the tournament, even to a certain degree. We need to see them step it up and what they are going to bring forward, because I think these two teams can be interesting. Not necessarily the best of the best, but certainly something to really talk about.
Yeah, absolutely here. So now that we've got ourselves these two squads, let's start off with introducing who's going to be starting here. It's going to be the Flippers first on the blue side. That's Arbrio in the top lane, Wenwin, Aj, Omibro, and Inflame down at support.
Skarlinger sounds a little bit better, not gonna lie, but yeah, a team that maybe we do know a bit more in terms of the quantity of their players. A couple of players here and there that are really interesting. The ones that I always jump into, or the ones that I focus a little bit more on the Flipper side, have to be Wenwin and AHJ. To me, two of the more interesting players, I think, around the cusp of going higher and higher in terms of OQ level teams and also ACL teams. So certainly two players to really put your attention onto, but the rest of the roster can be really interesting, and on the right day, I think they can contest against a lot of teams.
Yeah, definitely. And now facing off against them here, team coming in from tier 2, making their way through the qualifications. Also in the 3-3 bracket, it's Calamity Esports. This roster going to be Trey Dog, Halls, Lonnie, Icade, and Pentius from top to bottom.
Yeah, I feel like a bit more on the unknown side, although Trey Dog, have seen him play before. He has played in the ACL before as well in other rosters, so not 100% surprising here. But the other players still need to get a little bit more knowledge on them, because I feel like their sample size so far a little bit on the low side, and they also came through the 3-3 bracket, so it's not like they are surprised that everyone was expecting. More so, they are kind of at the level that we were kind of waiting for them to appear.
Yeah, definitely. And a squad that isn't a lot of the big names, but has earned themselves some solid seeding both here and in OQs with how high they've been able to get up in solo queue. And definitely a team that has, been able to put up some pretty solid results against some other teams that we definitely have an amount of respect for here. They came out of the GSL in 2-1. They were able to take down Bikini Bottom Warriors to be able to make it over here. They have a win versus Pookie Bears as well. No, they dropped to Pookie Bears, but played up against them over the 2-1 bracket where they were taken down. I think what's important to keep in mind about both of these teams is a top 12 ACL, nothing to scoff at for pretty much any of these players. I think there's Aj has definitely done it before. Maybe Wenwin has. Outside of those two, I don't think any of these 10 players have made top 12 of an ACL previously. Maybe Inflame did with one of his CLOL teams. I'm not 100%.
Yeah, it could have been in one of the older time, or one of the older, or the earlier competitions where we saw a little bit more those collegiate teams being able to rack up the placements. But I would assume AHJ and Wenwin are the primary players that probably did it already. The other, like you're mentioning, it's nothing to scoff at, and it's also a place where you can begin stacking up your ranking so that other teams, much higher ranking teams, can begin taking a look into you, as we see the draft starting and already Barris picked for the blue side.
Yeah, great resume builder to be able to make top 12 ACL here. That's going to be going right on those LFT posts in the upcoming off season for whoever is able to secure it. And the Varus snap up first here for Omibro. Definitely like this coming through for Flippers. I think Omibro in their loss up against Dia last week was definitely their most consistent performer. Did a very good job down there in the bot lane alongside Inflame, and they're going to snap him up that high priority bot laner nice and early, plenty flexible with both the poke and the on-hit builds available. available. Calamity going to grab themselves Talia. This has been a constant pick for Lonnie, and they're going to be happy to be able to snap that one up early as it does slip on through the bans.
Yeah, there are multiple mid lane bans, as you can see on the upper side. Corki, Azir, Aurora, Yone all taken out. That means that taking the Talias, taking those really early priority picks are going to be really ideal. Although you can almost always go for the Victors, for and other champions the mid lane that can try and contest this Talia and make something worth it. But the Xin Zhao Talia combo can be really scary, and especially against mobile champions like the Virus, going to have quite a bit of an impact. Now, we have to wait and see what Flippers is going to try and respond with, but this could be a perfect opportunity to go just for jungler and then also try and go for the mid lane as well in this position. And with Ahri, Bai wouldn't be surprising to come through. Could be Bai or could be the Pantheon as well, the usual kind of pick going against the Xin Zhao. But Bai Ahri has been a combo that we've seen consistently so far in the ACL.
Yeah, and this is an interesting, this matchup in particular, I think is an interesting Fearless matchup, in especially how contested the jungle pools are here. The Xin Zhao, the Pantheon, and even the Udyr, believe it or not. I mean, Wenwin is the big Udyr guy around these parts, but Halls has got a fair bit of Udyr games under his pocket as well. It's his most played in solo Q2, and he's drawn a fair bit of bans on it here in the ACL. So I'm curious as this series goes on, and as Calamity potentially moves it over to blue side, if they're going to drop this Udyr ban and threaten to have Halls pick it. That would be an interesting little draft advantage they can get for themselves here. Meanwhile, that Xin Zhao going to get snapped up by Halls nice and early. That's going to be off the board for Wenwin going forward. The Ahri for Aj, another pick that both of these mid laners care a whole lot about. Lonnie has played a lot of Ahri more than anything else this season. It's been his Ahri and his Jace. Do want to note that the Jace is still up, but that Talia lock-in means that it's not likely to come on through in this game #1 draft. The Volibear, though. Yeah, the Volibear is spicy, though. I'm excited for this out of Wenwin.
And could be a flex as well. Like, technically, I do see it more likely on Wenwin, but it can still go top side depending on some of the matchups, and you can try and play it in that split pushing position, where the Ezreal also gets picked here for the center of Calamity. So we have already technically bot lane or AD carries, mid laners, and junglers picked. So it should be a focus towards the support position and the top lane position, with Karma and Nautilus already out. Expecting to see something like the Leona, something like the Alistar being pinched, maybe something like the Braum as well, depending on if you're on the flipper side. I think Braum could be quite ideal here to block the Talia and the Ezreal. But in general, pretty straightforward for both sides, and so a lot going to bell down on who their top laners are going to be and how they want to try and play around them.
Yeah, for sure here. So the Ezreal already snapped on up. Karma and Nautilus, a little bit of focus on towards the supports. These support players have very, very different pools between the two of them. And again, I really do want to see how Icade and Pentius intend to face off up against Omibro and Inflame. I think that's a tough matchup for them to have to play up against. These guys both, I think, have been performing above their expectations here on the flippers, and that's what's a lot of what has allowed this team to kind of push for playoffs on top of their more experienced mid-jungle duo that they have prioritized early in this draft. I think Volibear, Ahri, assuming that it's Volibear jungle, could be flexed up to top for Arbrio, but seems unlikely. I think just the Volibear and Ahri duo are going to already make life very, very dangerous for Lonnie in the mid lane.
Yeah, and it kind of works similar to other point-and-click CC junglers, because you do have the point-and-click CC as well on the Volibear, so getting the charm down with the Volibear is quite easy if you're playing their every matchup anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if Flippers just continue with that idea with those champions and try and make it work out as effectively as possible. And this also does keep some of the junglers, like we were mentioning, the Pantheon and the Vi, alive for later on in the series, which is something that kind of occasionally gets lost really early on in the draft, as the Nico pick, really good with the poke, can control a lot of what the bot lane plays with. K'Sante also coming through, and this could be a Renata game potentially just because of the Nico and the Xin Zhao, but instead it's a Leona. They won the engage, so a lot of tankiness coming in on the flipper side.
Yeah, and a big pick there for Arbrio. He's been a big fan of the K'Sante. Feels like it's one of those picks. Both the K'Sante and the Volibear feel like they're in this category of, like, there's a subset of players that are just still jamming them, even though they're not really considered tier 1 right now. And Flipper is definitely enjoyers of both of those picks. So now to finish things off, expecting a top laner for Trey Dog. Has been a bit of a tank-focused pool here. Let's see what he's willing to play into that K'Sante. The Dr. Mundo been his favorite. He will go for the Yorick as a little bit of a side lane punish option.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not against the Yorick here, just because you are playing against multiple tanks, And it's going to be quite difficult to actually put a stop on him in the side lane. Whenever he gets like into a good spot, the Ari doesn't want to be left alone in the side lane as consistently because her body is going to come off of the pick potential, right? And you want to try and make the most out of those picks inside of the enemy jungle, trying to put pressure into them. So I don't expect to see much of the Ari going into the Yorick. So if you're sending a K'Sante or even a Volibear to try and gank this Yorick and you're lacking damage or control, it's not going to be easy for the Yorick to just fall down and die or anything like that either. I'm interested in how Calamity will play out this composition, but Flippers do have a pretty straightforward front-to-back composition where they can just play for the barriers, play off of the barriers damage, and also off of the amount of CC that they have on all of the champions, and try and lock down consistent targets and be able to deal with them in a pretty straightforward team fight.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting top lane matchup that we end up with here in game number 1, especially considering the players, right? Like, I think both of these top laners have kind of shown some struggles up against some of the top tier top laners we have here in ACL. Both have a little something to prove coming into playoffs to see if they can, you know, really raise their stock and start contending to be some of those kind of big names in the ACL here. And I think Trey Dog going to have the ball in his hands for this game number 1. He gets a really strong counter pick here. I think you're completely on point that there's not really a strong side lane answer to this Yorick. It's going to have to be Aj on the Ari if they get into a later game scenario. And I don't think that's really where you want your Ari, and I don't think it's really a winning matchup either. It's just going to be your best chance at starting, halting the bleeding. So Calamity come up with a really big draft win there, and as long as Trey Dog is able to execute on this pick that he has picked twice already in the ACL, so they definitely have practiced it a fair bit, and they definitely feel comfortable snapping it up. He's got to execute here, and as long as he does, it feels like it's going to be a massive advantage for Calamity.
Also, one of the biggest surprises for Flippers, at least from how they look at it, is if you already are going for the Bolivar and the Leona, you're fine tricking a bit more of a bruiser kind of top laner, or even a carry-oriented top laner. Gwen is left open, and I think Gwen could have been a nice enough like pick to try and go here. Magical damage is not that heavy on the side of Flippers anyway, so it would have been fine enough. Although you can technically say that Bolivar is a lot of magical damage, and that's why you should go against it. But realistically, compared to a Gwen, probably not the same level. And then other champions that could have had a little bit more value here than the K'Sante immediately, because like we mentioned before, the scary part of this is how much pressure this Yorick can have on the side lane. And not only that, the fact that he can also take the 1v1 wins even against a tank or a pseudo tank like the K'Sante is scary. Because yes, K'Sante has the outplay bottom, but Yorick can just stay still and just hit you with a Q and a maiden, and that's it.
Yeah, it's going to be a really dangerous position for Arbrio here. He's going to have to, you know, see what he can do in the early laning phase to make himself not fall too far behind. And you know, this may be the kind of matchups where if this was NACL or something, you might expect to see a little bit of lane swappage before too long. If you're able to put yourself into a position where you have that Varus and Leona up against the Yorick, maybe can make things a little bit better. But that, of course, does leave your K'Sante against Ezreal Nico. So not a lot of great options available for the Flippers here. I really think Calamity put themselves into a strong position based off of this draft. Only thing I would note is Mark Treads have mega value this game for Calamity. I think it's, as you mentioned, it's a near double magic damage mid-jungle duo. So much of the Volibear's baseline damage is magic. And just being able to disrupt that CC combo going to be huge value. It's plenty good up against the Chains of Corruption and anything that Leona throws at you as well. So no complaints about picking those up nice and early, even on folks like Lonnie.
Yeah, and it's one of those games where also you have so much CC, like we were mentioning before, where one good amount of CC can just destroy the enemy team. Especially with the fact that you have 5 members with CC, it's pretty easy for them to be able to control them and find multiple angles for it. So I think that this time around you do need to have the control, but you need to be able to execute on that control really well as well.
Yeah, definitely a important point to be aware of here. Want to check out these bot lanes as well, because while Trey Dog is in a good position, that does make me want to see some attention paid towards Icade and Pentius here. They have themselves a double range bot lane. They're in a good position to be successful as well, but I do think this one's going to be a little closer. Omibro and Inflame, no slouches in their own department, and definitely have a little bit more brawling power. It's not the kind of really strong counter that the Yorick and the K'Sante is. I do think they have opportunities to fight back here. If anybody mispositions, Inflame will be able to punish on the Leona. and will be able to get a substantial chunk of damage, if not outright kills in the 2-on-2. So going to need to see some responsible play out of this bot lane from Calamity to make sure that they don't accidentally give up more than they intend to.
Yeah, and realistically, it's not like they even need to force that much, right? As long as you play the first 3 to 5 levels normally, you leave the Ezreal alone, and then this Nico can just become a consistent ganking partner with the Xin Jiao and find multiple opportunities to make use of the clones, plus the CC that she has. Pretty similar idea with the Leona. Summer doesn't really need to stay in lane at all. That duo with Wenwin in the jungle on the Bolivar can be really scary when you have so much CC lockdown, and then if you're able to move around with AHG as well, you can become a really scary threat inside the enemy jungle. So I think that we are bound to see these bot lanes just dismantle themselves by the 5th level mark and just try and move around with their junglers so that they can find picks, control inside of the jungle, try and get a little bit more opportunities for the other lanes, because I really end up feeling like the game will kind of inch more on what happens with Traydok and the K'Sante up there in the top lane. Whoever gets the better out of that matchup, if Traydok gets set behind before he can even get to a point where he can destroy the K'Sante, then that's a lane that you can really make the most out of.
Yeah, I completely agree here. And I mean, you got to believe that those stats are mega in favor of the K'Sante, or sorry, of the Yorick rather, in that Yorick versus K'Sante matchup. Yeah, it's looking like it's actually pretty K'Sante favored by solo queue metrics, but you know, those always do get quite a bit skewed, and you know, the K'Sante does have that big value coming on in towards some of the later game scenarios. But maybe a little bit of an opportunity here if there's interactions we don't quite understand. At the very least, he can stack up and Tofo strikes on towards the ghouls, so a little bit of an interaction that favors you there, but you got to believe that that Yorick is just going to be harassing you all game long.
Yeah, those ghouls still do so much against any champion that has no real way to kill them really quickly. And as far as I know, I don't think the Tompa strike, the Tompa attacks kill the ghouls as quickly as possible. So yeah, that much of in the top lane is going to be miserable to a certain degree if you're not careful enough as the K'Sante. Although we are talking about K'Sante, and 100% of the time, one misstep turns into a really random kill that nobody expected out of this champion, and then you are questioning why did you pick anything other than the K'Sante. So we have to wait and see how that will end up executing itself. The other point that I want to focus on is the Bolivar, when we're playing this Bolivar, because it hasn't been a champion that we have seen, I would say, close to it all in the ACL so far in the jungle position. I'm lying if I said I checked all the stats, but I would be willing to assume that that's the case, because it hasn't been in the meta for quite a while now.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those picks that, like, there's a few players who are, you know, Volibear enjoyers, and they go for it quite frequently, and they draw bans on it, and, you know, it's a big part of their game. And then there's players who don't, and the majority are in the category where they don't. But I think it fits Wenwin quite a bit here. I know he plays it a lot in solo queues. Big bear guy in general, whether that be the Udyr or the Volibear. So it doesn't surprise me too much to see him pick it up, but as a game one selection, especially in a game where we've talked about how this jungle pool, I think, has a lot of shared champions between it, I'm surprised to see it come out in game number one for sure.
Yeah, I think it makes sense in the idea that obviously Fearless gives you the chance to always like have to play a different champion whenever you go deeper into the series. So this way you kind of take away one of the champions that probably wouldn't have been playing almost at all, and you leave open other champions that more than likely will, like for example a Vi or a Pantheon. But it also can mean that if you get a victory with this champion, you kind of get it out of the way, and then you can go for the actual meta champion. So I can get behind the idea of the Bolivar. My main problem is that I think it's a very niche champion in general to what you want to do, and I kind of think that right now it fits better in the top lane than in the jungle. Not because it cannot be effective in the jungle, but because I just think that the matchups in the top lane, you probably can get more out of the healing and out of the point and click CC than in the jungle.
Yeah, I will call out, Wenwin has played one game of Volibear so far in ACL this season, so this will be his second.
Yeah, I just want to know if there's more jungle Bolivars. Like, I'm pretty sure there has been top lane Bolivars, but jungle Bolivars is where it's at.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who it is. There's somebody I was covering in OQs that was playing a lot of Volibear and was drawing bans on it. I can't remember for the life of me who it was. But I know it has, you know, it has a non-zero presence. I do think, though, it's
more than
game one Volibear is a surprise to me in a full Fearless format. But we'll give Wenwin powerful options later on. And that Udyr and Pantheon are going to be the picks that were on the ban list this time around, but I think could pose an advantage for blue side teams going deeper into the game.
Just quickly, it is going to be a poke barrier, so no attack speed barriers. That means so it's not a bad idea in the sense that the Calamity has a really squishy lineup, so the damage from the barriers will stick really well. But the problem with this is that if you miss your poke, if you are not connecting when the CC is connecting from flippers, or if you're not able to burst someone out with your first combo, there's actually barely any consistent damage on the side of flippers. So if a fight lasts longer than just 5 seconds, or actually like 3 to 4 seconds, that can be really scary for them.
Yeah, it definitely can be here, as the laning phase will begin. We'll have our eyes on both these junglers starting on opposite sides. It is going to be Halls, who's the one pathing up towards top. Just thoughts to keep in mind, as both these junglers going to bring a lot of power to the table earlier on. I do kind of like the idea of Volibear into Xin Zhao as something that can kind of go under and just brawl earlier on. That's usually the kind of thing that Xin Zhao is most adept at, but Volibear could swing some of these early game mid-jungle 2v2s. Like, mid-jungle 2v2, I think, is stronger for flippers here if they are able to, you know, find their target, get the flash, thundering smash, and really just blow somebody up.
Yeah, it's much easier to execute on it, because like we mentioned this in draft, point and click CC into pretty easy, straightforward CC from the area is quite effective when you're trying to get a consistent kill in any lane. And the fact that you can pull it off on cooldown essentially, because there's nothing compared to the Vi. This is a champion that can go in essentially on every 10 seconds or every 15 seconds, like the Pantheon, where the Vi needs to wait for her ultimate. So it is much easier for the Volibear Ahri duo to get that combo going much earlier. The only problem is that if you mess it up and the Volibear does fall behind in comparison, like his position to try and get back into the game is much harder compared to something like a Vi.
Definitely a tough position to be able to come back. Yeah, definitely expecting some early game action in this game for certain based on these jungle picks. And you can already see, I mean, the Yorik's already starting to do Yorick things. He's just got himself a little bit of a CS lead and got himself a little bit of a sustain advantage, and that's going to remain the case as he's the first one to tick 4. Going to be able to block Arbrio in with the wall. Nicely done there by Trey Dog. A huge trade, and that's basically going to take Arbrio out of the lane. That's his TP.
Yeah, that's pretty much going to be Arbrio needing to reset or wait here. He can try and wait it out, but there's already a Xin Zhao on the side. They're already trying to split it up for a potential dive, and the ghouls help a lot in trying to make dive situations work out, because they are deceptively so strong. They are not tanking turret shots, but they are deceptively strong enough that they can try and make it so that even if you try and flash away, they follow you to get the kill, which is something really bothersome to deal with. But minions are not enough. They cannot push it in, and that means that Xin Zhao has to back away. But so far, a nicer start for Calamity, although maybe a gank here can turn things around. It's not gonna be the case.
Health Potion plus Biscuit, though, doing enough to keep Arbrio in lane, so he does not actually get forced out of lane. That's a nice Zephyr coming in, though, on towards Icade. He's going to be forced to flash away. Clear the wall. Does avoid the poke, but will go down anyway. But here's Halls for the turnaround. It's a double kill. Back over to Calamity, a comedy of errors that comes up on Calamity's side.
At the end, it does work out for Halls there with the double flash into the poking guild there. As Arbrio, he cannot push him further.
Oh no, I mean, that's a good idea from Arbrio, but yeah, see, this is why those low analytics win rates don't really make sense to me. The interactions feeling very good for the Yorick here.
Arbrio is going to hurt.
And he managed to land another E. Yeah, that's Shred. It matters. Here come the little ghoulies just to make things an issue.
Flash Q auto. Oh, not even that.
Not quite a kill, but definitely close, and not feeling scared.
It's so difficult to play around that. I was also going to mention quickly the bot lane play. I think, and luckily, Omi, when he flashed in, he didn't have enough. He didn't throw the arrow with range.
There's going to be the Zenith Blade coming on through.
Unless
gonna have to flash away. They do get some good damage on a win-win. Halls is in here, having cashed out on his double kill earlier, but they won't be able to finish off the bear. Inflame taking a little bit of poke from Wind Becomes Lightning. Inflame going in deeper, 3 versus 2, and he'll be punished for it. Feat of Warfare claimed by Halls. Aj is out of mana, forced to retreat away with the Spirit Rush. and Calamity just get another one for free.
That was really random there, but I blame no need at all to try and re-engage. Maybe thinking that AHJ with their ultimate was probably going to be able to get the kill there if he could re-engage, but it was still a 3v2 situation. Bolivar was already forced out, and you know that the advantage in terms of damage is on whole side because of what happened bot side. So really weird decision there. At the end, it's another kill for the side of Calamity, and even though it's still kind of close because there is one kill still in favor of Flippers, the map is kind of feeling more and more inclined the longer the game goes.
Definitely is. Really good stuff for Calamity to start on off here. And I mean, it's a lead for Trey Dog, which we talked about being expected and needed, but it's a lead elsewhere as well. So it's not going to give Flippers a lot of opportunities to kind of supersede that Yorick matchup later on. Trey Dog already with the Maiden going to look to extend this lead. That's a nice connection of the Zenith Blade once again, though. And Icade, disrespectfully walking up to the bush, will be taken down by Omi, bro.
Yeah, that is painful to see, but it's pretty easy, and that's one of the few saving graces that the side of Flippers do have. Having so much strength, there's so much damage that Arbu is going to take up there, but having strength in the bot side is your only saving grace. And importantly as well, one of the few champions that can kill you from a safe distance, being this far ahead is really, really good for them as well. Halls.
Just getting a little bit of lockdown there onto Inflame, calling over Halls. This is a 3-0 Xinjiao, so plenty strong to be able to finish this up. Inflame trying to make the trade happen. Inflame takes down Pentius and makes it a 1-for-1 trade. Kill donated wisely to Icade, but it's a little too up far from Pentius.
Yeah, at the end though, 1-for-1 in that situation, even though it is Ike the one that gets the kill, I would take that 100% of the time. You get the kill anyway, your Varus is still safe and doesn't take any sort of punishment or anything like that. And because the Varus is able to back before, they actually will get the first change or the first lane swap into the Yorick's top lane. So that means that even though Yorick is pushing here by himself, he's not going to get much more than just the play that he was originally going to get as well. But Wenwin,
they're engaged, being found here onto Wenwin. Not going to be able to block the ultimate, but they do connect the flick back. Wenwin already chunked out pretty low. Hall's going to throw down the Crescent Guard to stay safe. Inflame now might be up a little bit too far. They're collapsing on him from the side. Trey Dog is here with the cutoff. Doesn't capture him inside the walls. Still no summoners available. Tangle Barb's just a little short. And Inflame will escape. Aj now finding Lonnie, but outnumbered immediately.
Yeah.
Pentius coming in on the side and will be forced to ulti to get away.
Yeah, they still have ultimate, so pretty easy for them to evade this sort of potential engage in the jungle. They did use heal, so all in all, it kind of feels like it's just a straight up victory for Flippers because there was one summoner used for nothing. But at the end, it's not like they obtained anything either on the other part. The no grubs were obtained. The dragon was actually obtained by Flippers in the process, so advantage Flippers at the end of the day.
I mean, Calamity should get the grubbies off of this. They have a huge health bar advantage.
Yeah, they have space.
They know they've just crashed in the bottom wave. They knew that Wenwin was forced to recall. He's had time to get back out here, but I don't know if they realize that he's coming in to try to punish Lonnie. Flick already used. Lonnie flashes over the wall and will call for backup. Looks like he'll be able to just recall away.
Yeah, insta-flash here by Lonnie. There was no ultimate even on Wenwin, so pretty good the fact that they were able to get that flash without having to commit ultimate on the Bolivar. That can set up for a future play as well. Like you're mentioning though, 3 grubs do go in the favor of the side of Calamity, and they are also kind of setting up over here. They have 3 members on the top side, although Halls is just on the edge down there between River and trying to force an engage. Oh, just damage.
Just damage. Nice little move there from Pentius to have his clone block out on Zenith Blade, or I guess be the furthest target on the Zenith Blade, and pull Inflame a little bit out of position, but no punish opportunity existing there. Taking a look at the CS counts above the board, though. Nice little lead built out by Wenwin, as he did take advantage of being forced off the play and how kind of slow Calamity was to go up and take those grubs, giving him nice little camp advantage as he was able to take that top blue side jungle from Halls.
Yeah, he's been able to make it so that even though Halls has that kill advantage, it's not that big of a difference, so that he could at the very least have some farm in his favor. That was close. But still, there is a good advantage for Halls. Has an item completed. Still probably the strongest member in the map as of now. Actually contested with Omi, but they are the two strongest members in the map right now, and whoever gets on top of a champion can kill them really effectively.
30 seconds to go on the next dragon spawn. Calamity already falling into position, getting that push in the bottom lane. Charm connects onto Lonnie. It's going to be that mid-jungle 2v2 we talked about. Crescent Guard thrown down by Halls. They're going to find an opportunity to return damage onto Wenwin. He's got to ulti out defensively, but Win becomes lightning, connects. Halls is all over him, and he goes on a rampage. 4-0 onto this Xin Zhao, and Volibear off the map needs that this dragon is going to be easy pickings.
The pullback value there by Lonnie is so massive to get when into such an awful spot, has to force ulti, has to flash away, and even then is not able to escape as effectively as here. Treydog going to trap the Cassandra.
Ooh, big catch on a Pentius though. Pentius will not be getting out of this. Omnibro going to be able to finish him off. The junglers, or the top laners rather, going all out up against each other. Arbrio nearly able to take Treydog down. Arbrio, a solo kill. Treydog overconfident in his sustain, as now the dragon going to be the focus here. Halls has the smite. Volibear is not here. They will secure it and they will back away, but cross map, it's actually a kill lead to Flippers thanks to that solo kill from Arbrio.
Yeah, really good play there by Arbrio, and we talked about this in draft. That's the thing with the Cassandra. Even though this is a matchup that in theory I think Treydog was doing pretty well and was controlling really well, one bad misstep, one really bad trade you take, the Cassandra out of nowhere kills you, and now you're wondering why you didn't pick that champion anyway. Because like it's so easy for him to get so much more value. Really good flash to also bait any sort of attempt at trying to get health back from Treydog, and it just means that now you have advantage top side, you have advantage bot lane, and even if you lost the dragon, you're still with one dragon yourself, so it's completely fine.
Yeah, and I mean that's so much of the CS lead that Treydog had built up just erased. It's going to give over the total gold advantage to Flippers. Just like that, Flippers feeling a little bit stronger once again, although still, I think, at risk of getting outpaced in the long game as this Volibear becomes a little bit less relevant, as this Poke Varus becomes a little bit less relevant, and as this Yorick becomes harder and harder to answer in the side lanes. There will be a collapse coming on towards him here. Wenwin will get locked inside of the walls for the time being. Treydog will be forced to flash. Did not expend that in the one-on-one, and it will get him out to safety this time.
Yeah, advantage of having kept that flash in the previous play, that at the very least you can escape this one. As trying to back here, the Ezreal is coming, so Alkid will try and respond to this wave. I think they probably send Treydog towards the bot side to respond to that play as well. This does mean that they probably are going to try and play for top side, trying to get control, and maybe wait until the Herald so that they can try and fight for it. They already have the Grubs themselves, so maybe it's around that idea as well they want to play for.
Yeah, going to be Rift Herald spawning up in about 1:30. Should be the next focus for both of these teams, and yeah, that rotation going to give them an advantage in that front. But Omnibro now just kind of hammering on this wave, and they do catch Pentius in the river. Throws down the Pop Blossom. That'll actually give him enough shielding to stay alive. And respect paid over to Lonnie. They're going to try to dive onto Treydog here while he is maidenless. No hate meant by that, as he will be left alone. He gets the kill onto Inflame. Inflame tanking up the turret for too long will drop down to Treydog. And maidenless or not, Treydog's on the board.
Yeah, he may be lacking maidens, but he's not lacking life. Okay, now he is. But in the process,
he take it down. Fight bringing out of the top side. Aj on the flank manages to assassinate Pentius, and Lonnie fell down earlier as well. Going to be a net win for Flippers there. So they will get 3 for 2 in the cross map.
Yeah, they get the kills on the bot side and inside of the jungle. They get the first turret blood as well. This Varus, Omi, is feeling so happy at this point. He's extremely strong. He has a good amount of damage in his favor already, stacking up that tier as well without really having much contest, which is great for the Varus. And there's not really a lot of attention that they've been throwing towards this Varus. The problem is that the few things that really make Flipper's composition effective is that Varus can be attacking from a really safe distance, and there's not enough tankiness to try and take it. Like, nobody wants to tank an arrow from the Varus, Rain of Arrows from the Varus either. So that means that you're just going to be falling victim the longer the game, this early to mid game goes, because he's going to be stacking on a lot of lethality damage and very little resistance on the other side.
We may be looking at a Xin Zhao with kills moment here, TDS. It's been the meme lately, and seeing the effects of it here a little bit. So much of the money funneled into Halls, and not really able to get too much value out of it as Lonnie face checks right into Wenwin. This is Cosmic Drive Volibear. He just outpaces everything from the Talia, and this might be a solo kill. Lonnie's got nowhere to go. Wenwin finishes him off. Halls arriving to the fight now. Icade and Pentius at his back, going to try to ult away with the Stormbringer to stay alive. Comes back in with a Thundering Crash. Pentius finds the Pop Blossom, and Wenwin will be popped down. Now going to be Inflame chased down as well, making a double kill to Icade.
Yeah, but finally we do see a little bit more kills onto Icade, which is really ideal at that point. Yes, Lonnie died. Yes, Lonnie's suffering, but you have to take the small victories when they come from. Now you will be able to farm this wave really effectively. You will be able to, at the very least, to stop a little bit of the onslaught that was happening from Flippers, and then also getting the damage for your carry was going to be really ideal. There's still quite a bit of a lead though for the Varus, almost 1,000 gold in his favor. In the mid lane, more than 1,000 gold. In the jungle, there is more than 1,000. There is 1,000 gold for Halls, and then in top lane is pretty equal. So you need to find the right places to throw that money in for both teams to really make it as worth it as possible.
Cloud Drake number 3 coming up here in a couple seconds, and this Drake will also determine who gets the Feats of Warfare. It was first tower to Flippers, first 3 kills to Calamity. They are at 2 objectives apiece now. So whoever gets this dragon will be rocking the opportunity to buy the tier 3 boots and the default tier 2 boots upgrade. Penti is taking some of the early harassment here, and Calamity's got to look to play through Halls here. This guy's at near 100% kill participation. He's so strong. Inflame is caught out by the Talia wall. Well placed by Lonnie. TP being channeled. Arbrio looking to join the fray. Trey Dog TPing as well. He'll be here within a couple of seconds. Poke arrow connects out of Lonnie, but doesn't hurt too bad. The throwdown of the Rift Herald, though, going to give some pressure in mid lane.
Yeah, Chains of Corruption was used in the previous play, though, so it means that now you won't have it for any sort of... what the... Wait, that works like that?
I didn't see quite what happened there, but I saw Ami.
He got blocked by the... Wait, 1 second.
All right, Pop Blossom comes up. He is going to get taken down very early. There's going to be a jump over the wall from Wenwin. Icade going to be able to chase him down. He flashes back over the wall.
Damage is not
alive. All out, going to be able to finish off Halls on the opposite side, but it's going to cut off Arbrio from the rest of the team. She's back in there. It lands a point-blank charm on Icade.
Only though.
Away and stay alive to continue firing through Mystic shots. Wenwin looking for an angle to get back into the fray, but Trey Dog is fending them off with the Maiden, and Lonnie and Icade still have plenty of damage to throw on out. There will be another charm coming on through. Trey Dog going to lose the majority of his health, and it looks like Calamity are just out of resources. They've been forced off the play, and this very well might be a dragon and the Feats of Warfare going over to Flippers.
It doesn't look just yet that that's going to be the case, although the backs did come through for the set of Flippers, which means that they will be able to get control of the dragon much quicker. Even with the teleport coming in by Lonnie, it's going to take a little bit more for Halls. And Penti is also here in the process, but they need to reset some of their members like Icade, and that means that they can get a little bit more control on the side of Flippers.
I'm surprised they didn't feel comfortable starting that up while Halls was still dead.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be Calamity coming back up. They're kind of at full fighting strength. TP being channeled. This is Aj without Spirit Rush, but at least with mana and health. Trey Dog never left at all.
They just got a leash for the dragon.
All right. I mean, it should have gone to Flippers all along, so it does at the end of the day. Icade maybe up a little too far here. Probably going to have to drop this wave. This is going to be a turret for Flippers as well, and Calamity, they're kind of trying to force a play when one wasn't there. They're going to get thoroughly punished.
Yeah, I feel like the idea of them trying to force a play previously wasn't necessarily bad, but at the time it wasn't going to be forcing the right execution there, and it kind of bursts in their faces a little bit there. So not the best thing, but for Flippers, really ideal that they were able to get the back timing for Ami to be able to come back full health, and then also even with the HA having to go back, he has the teleport back, so it's really comfortable for them. And I just wanted to quickly mention it. Okay, we're going to see the replay. We're not going to talk much about this Herald until later, but this fight starts really interesting with the initial engage by Pentis, but it only catches Wenwin. He doesn't get any important target, although he blows the flash from Omi, but then after that, the fight continues in a position where the Varus can free fire and get at the very least a second chance for his spells to recharge. After this, he gets a second piercing hour, not the best damage. Oh,
a little pick here on the Pentis once again. And the Nico will be slain. Just up too far, not scouting enough with the decoy.
Double CC2. Chains of Corruption and Leona ultimate used there, but it was enough to be able to kill the Nico there. That means that this is going to be Actacan more than likely, really easy to get as well. But Traydog will finally get enough alone time to get the first turret.
I mean, having secured all 3 grubs with the Yorick lane, this is quite late to get your first turret taken down. We'll have Aj coming over to respond to him. So we'll probably get some damage on the inner, but not much else. Might even leave now that he sees Aj just trying to take away some jungle camps. An opportunity to push in mid as well. It is assumed that there will be a recall after the Otacon. We're going to start working on that one, and Arbrio going to try his best to clear out the wave. Meanwhile, here comes Traydog on the flank, going to be duking it out with Aj, forces out the Spirit Rush. Nicely done by Calamity, and now they have a little bit of a resource advantage here. Aj forced to ultimate. Those ultimates coming up in bot lane for Flippers still.
Unlucky they couldn't kill the Maven there, but yeah, having no ultimate on Ash means that it's going to be difficult for the Ahri to be trying to force as much as possible. They are trying to collapse here, but once again, without the Ahri, trying to collapse on the side becomes a little bit more difficult because that Ahri CC is going to be one huge part of what you're able to accomplish on the side compared to just having the Cassandra there. So not there, but it's not going to be the end of the world either. Both teams trying to put themselves in a spot where they can fight for this next dragon in 2 minutes and try and see what else can they try and obtain there. But another thing that I kind of wanted to mention is that because of how the game has gone, Ash is actually able to contest onto Traydog because Traydog doesn't have enough damage yet to really make it difficult for anyone that tries to go onto him. Even though now he forces the Kisante, he really just gets a free push and then once again will be contested for the lane.
Yeah, really good stuff from Aj this game. I think been quietly very, very impactful, been very good in fights. Found Icade in that previous skirmish, be able to chunk out the Ezreal enough to really be able to make the fight a lot easier for the rest of his team. A player that I'm personally a big fan of, so excited to see how he will perform in this series. So far off to a very strong start. Has himself a huge CS lead and will be tasked with Yorick duty for the mid-game stages, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
I think TDS is muted there, perhaps? I cannot hear him. So, fight potentially breaking out here. Aj gonna get forced away. Nearly gonna get taken down. Here's gonna be the jump in from Wenwin, trying to focus in on a Traydog. Traydog makes it happen. The shutdown onto Aj, and that'll be a very worthwhile trade.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you leave when you have you're going against one of the squisher champions. He can destroy you really easily there, and that was such a good outplay there by Traydog. Flashing to get the kill. Ash did not have to flash, but still able to get that kill in that position. It's the most ideal thing you can find, and they are also trying to collapse onto Wenwin, although he's going to be quite fast to try and run away.
Supports finding each other. I'm surprised they just decide that the call is Wenwin here. They're going to ignore this Leona as long as they have to. They want to collapse onto the bear. Lonnie comes in with the cutoff. There's going to be a flash away from Wenwin, an important engage tool down, but the rest of the squad is collapsing. They have found Penty. His Hall's going to be a little bit late on his Crescent Guard, but it'll keep him standing for now. He flashes back away. Another flick comes through from Lonnie, but the damage is just not there. Arbrio is running through the team and trying to finish off the rest of them. Inflame nearly going to end up dropping. Lonnie will be able to get him, but Omi Bro is unleashed, untethered, and will not be stopped by anybody on Calamity. They get 2 into the Varus, and this should be Dragon number 3 for Flippers.
It really feels like that should be the case. Such a good team fight. They were committing so heavily onto Wenwin, but Wenwin was not only outplaying it really well, but he's quite fast. He was able to run away really quickly from the scene, and then running them down so long meant that the team can respond accordingly. They go for the easy to kill champions first, the Nico and Halls on the Xin Zhao by himself, and then they move on to the carries really effectively. I love how Flippers played that fight in general. The longer it went, the better it was for them at the end, and then also the fact that they were able to wait it out so that there was not enough risk for Calamity to really find a counter angle or fight a counter kill in any way.
Yeah, they really just send everything at Wenwin. They aren't actually able to kill him very quickly at all, and by then they've blown too many resources and they're losing the fight on the other front. Really good collapse there from Flippers. Calamity looking like they have the pieces, but just not putting them all together in just the perfect order there. Flippers find themselves advantaged yet again, one dragon away from the soul, and a very, very strong Varus to trust in these upcoming battles. Oh,
Actually, they died.
I mean, Trey Dog's gonna go down here. Arbrio is just dominating this one-on-one. The all-out makes a big difference. A 2-item Cassante just destroys 2-item Varus there.
Yeah, pretty easy there. I guess the matchups in analytics were in that way for a reason. In theory, it should be much better for Treydoc, but in reality, the Cassante just gets one pushback and then he just goes all in and able to find so much value. Oh, HJ.
Aj! Pop Blossom comes through. Lonnie not quite able to
not enough damage.
Hall's on the opposite side. Icade here to support him, but all 5 members of Flippers have assembled together. Hall's going to be the only body that hits the ground, and they are ready to move on to Baron.
Yeah, and that position is really unlucky because even though they find a really good pick onto Ashe, they have no damage. It's only Lonnie there. Pentius, even though he gets a knockup as well, it's not enough at all. And then the counter engage, the counter damage from Flippers is just that much stronger, able to find multiple damage opportunities onto multiple champions. And with no jungler, with Hull's dead, that means that it's a pretty free Baron. So now not even the split push attempt by Treydoc can be effective here because it's going to take much longer to be able to deal with the minions buffed up.
Absolutely. 27 minutes in now. It is a sizable lead for Flippers. That Baron secure. Great for them. Back-to-back favorable plays. Arbrio finding the solo kill. And then again, punishing Calamity on what looks like a good pick for them, but they just aren't able to piece together the execution. They don't finish the kill fast enough. They don't have the damage, and they leave themselves open for another counterplay from Flippers, and that gives them Baron.
Yeah, that now just opens up the opportunity for the set of Flippers to really do whatever they want. They can try and push into the base, they can try and get control for this dragon that is coming up in 2 minutes, or they can try and maybe force a slight fight so that they can have an easier time trying to push. But with the 3 waves getting pushed into the side of Wenwin.
Yeah, Wenwin going to be the target once again. Nice charm. Only to find its way on a Pentius. Take about half the Nico's health, and that's it.
Yeah, and because of this,
they're still forcing the play. They think they got an angle onto Aj, who's going to just spirit rush on out. They're trying to force the play in mid. Pop Blossom connects. It's only onto the Volibear. Icade trying to find the damage. Here comes Inflame over the wall. Inflame has found Icade. Halls is the first one to drop. There goes Icade as well. And again, it's Calamity forcing a play that they just cannot finish. It's going to be finished by Flippers instead. An ace to Flippers and domination in game number 1.
Yeah, that was such a big team fight coming in from Flippers. The Volibear ends up being able to out-heal everyone thanks to how the game progressed. He was one of the farther ahead champions, and with gold in their favor, it's much easier to be able to get those victories. Last attempt by Calamity there doesn't work out in the best possible way. That all happened while our bro was just pushing top lane. He was just by himself pushing top lane, not having to deal with anyone.
He was the Yorick all along.
Yeah. It was him actually
what Trey Dog to be doing at this stage of the game, but no, Arbrio showing up on the Cassante to come on up with the solo kills and the solo push. Another big fight win for Flippers, where Calamity are just forcing plays and not being able to get them done. Big win here for Flippers to start on off the series. And what a game from Omi Bro, by the way. I think that was 11-1-6 or something was the scoreline for him at the end of the day. He tops the damage charts as well. A solid performance on that first pick Varus.
Yeah, and a big part of the game was the Varus being the one holding down the fort, right? Because we saw topside was suffering quite a bit. The Xin Zhao was really far ahead compared to the Volibear. And then you had so much control in your favor on the side of Calamity that it was kind of difficult to go against. There was even a slight point of the game at the start of it, namely, that was for Calamity, as you see in the gold graph. But then after a couple of victories, a couple of kills for Omi, a couple of bad plays that led to bad bets, like Treydoc dying by himself against the Cassandra in the top lane, it kind of got out of control, and it just meant that they were going to have a lot of control in their favor and also a pretty free time in trying to get the gold lead in their favor. And that's exactly what they did at the end. Really good game by the side of Flippers, and already putting a really strong performance after a not that good first 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, definitely. I do think part of the problem traces back to a lot of that early game gold lead. It does go on to the Xin Zhao. So you don't really get the kind of late game security you might want out of that one. The champion kind of just a pile of stats, and you can make the pile a little bit taller, but eventually synergy and like stronger scaling kits are going to let you surpass that mountain and that pile. So fall down once we get a little bit later in the game from that Xin Zhao. And as you saw later on, just not even really able to tussle with the Volibear once they start getting a couple of items in their pocket. So some things to think about for game number 2 for Calamity. We're going to throw it to a quick break here. We will see how they do in draft number 2 when we get back. I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Zen Market. If you ever had a problem longing for a special Japanese item that you cannot find locally, Zen Market has a solution for you. They are your one-stop shop for buying products directly from Japan. They'll help you buy items from over 10,000 shops, as well as place bids on auctions on your behalf, and they'll consolidate all your items safely into one box that they can ship internationally. They provide excellent customer service in 19 languages, which is why Zen Market is trusted by over 2 million users worldwide. Check out the panel below the stream or click the link in chat to try them out now. If you sign up with promo code Aegis, you will get 1,000 yen off your first international shipping fee. Thank you again to Zen Market for sponsoring the ACL. We will see everybody after a short break.
これ着てみたいな。
ここだ。って衣装の数がこんなに？
迷っちゃいました。ウィッグをお探しです。
リボンの種類が豊富なんですよ。見ます？
鎧はいかがですか？空のことを助けなあかんのに。待って。いろいろ教えてくれるのは嬉しいけど、大事なのは空。このキャラのアニメ版の衣装が欲しいんだ。サイズはこれ。ウィッグは大丈夫。
ありがとう、ゼンマーケット。
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to tonight's broadcast of the ACL, where we have got ourselves a 1-0 lead for Flippers. They do find themselves now coming into draft number 2, looking to see if they can close out this series in a quick and easy fashion. They will be on the red side this time around. Let's see if Calamity can find a response.
Yep, it has to be on them now on the red side of what they're able to accomplish. It's not difficult to find multiple opportunities there to try and get good picks. I think that we're going to see pretty equal fan phase here in general. A lot of the same mid lane champions probably going to be taken away. Only Corki's missing, and that's the last mid lane champion that we're lacking here in terms of the bans for the first game. Now, we were talking about this in the first game draft. That Udyr ban coming through, will Flippers pull it off here, or will they let it have go through for Calamity?
Definitely. So now going to be the Yone Aurora bans to start things off. The Azir going to continue to be focused on to from Calamity. We'll see there's going to be the Pantheon taken off the board as well. So they will continue to ban that one from red. I want to see if Calamity ban the Udyr again, or if they're going to threaten to snap it up for Halls. I do think that's an interesting draft angle they have for themselves here.
It could be a good option, and if it works out, much better for them. But with enough time, we'll see what their priorities is. Once again, there is quite a few junglers available still, even if the other gets taken away. So it's not the end of the world if it gets banned, and it is banned at the end of the day. The Lucian, though, is one of the more interesting choices of bans coming in for Calamity, and because of the fact that they didn't ban the Corki, Calamity gets the first pick for it. Good flex, can play bot, can play mid, and can be really scary going against most mid laners.
For sure. So the Corki to start things off, and yeah, they do force that Udyr ban away from Flippers. So I think that's a fun little advantage they get for themselves. We will see if it can end up paying off here. Forcing Flippers to ban away additional junglers gives them access to the Corki. Can they get access to any of their other priority picks here? This is Icade's most played throughout the season. It's a good start for them, but Flippers will respond with the Jhin.
Similar idea to the Poke Virus in the sense that it provides quite a bit of utility, long range as well, and can execute champions if given the chance to go for it. Now, Calamity this time around probably would like to go for a bit of a tankier front line just to make it so that this Jhin doesn't have a free time getting a lot of kills onto multiple champions. And it does mean that probably we're going to see a few tanks here and there to try and make the setup for Jhin much better. The Sejuani, a good starter for it, and also effective with a lot of the melee champions that the side of Flippers in top lane and support probably would like to go for. And also this also makes it so that you can go for your support here and find a lot of value in it. And there's Vi that we talked a lot about as well.
Sure, there is the Vi lock-in. It's going to be a really reliable jungler in a lot of different scenarios. Surprised to not see Flippers just snap it up here. And I would love to see, I mean, for Calamity, they do take the Hui. That's the other big contested pick between these two mid laners. I think it's really good with the Vi as well. You can just guarantee cease and desist at a Severing Bolt combo. That is just fine. They will snap up the Ambessa for Arbrio as their answer. That's a pick that we haven't seen too much out of Arbrio this game. It's a little bit, or this season, it's a little bit more of a trade dog pick in my mind, but it will be both a denial from a comp that would love an Ambessa here and a strong pick in top lane for Flip.
And it was banned in the previous game. If I'm not wrong, I think Flippers did ban it in their first game against Arbrio. So taking it away once again this time around, probably wanting to ban maybe something more so that they can find more value over there. But with this, now we're bound to be finding some of their picks going into this second round picks, the bans as well, with a Way coming through, which could technically still be a support Way, not necessarily a mid lane Way. But it kind of feels like it's bound to be a mid lane Way. The Braum does come through as the first ban, and I'm expecting to see other tankier supports getting banned away. The Alistar, once again, the Row was banned in the previous game as well, and could be the option. Nautilus is still available as well. There's plenty to really try and go for.
Yeah, I'd like that Braum ban away, just to try to deny some of the disengage opportunities up against the Sejuani Ambessa. Calamity likely going to be looking for some support bans of their own here, trying to stop some of that pick damage from coming on through. The other thing is, I mean, this comp kind of requires a strong DPS mid. The Hui is already taken. Fearless away are the Talia and the Ahri. Azir's already banned. You could probably pinch the mid pool here up against Aj. See what he's going to be forced to go for.
Could be, although it does leave you at risk of if they pick a tank, can be scary, but they can go for the Tristana. and that way have a consistent damage dealer in the form of in their mid lane, and that way not have to worry about not having someone to shred front lines. But at the same time, if you go a tank in that position against 3 physical damage dealers, then it kind of becomes a scary factor to try and go against. But the rel here, we were talking about engage potential, and it makes a lot of sense that it comes through here.
Yeah, for sure. So a really strong selection of the rel, going to give them that powerful engage that you talked about. Does still leave this mid lane pick with a lot of questions on it. Here's the Gragas lock-in for Trey Dog, a personal favorite of his. Will play it into most any matchup, and I think it's solid into the Ambessa as well. Definitely a champion that can effectively punish.
So it is a mid.
It's Ambessa mid. Arbrio gets his Rumble. Arbrio is a huge Rumble player. That's his most played all season long, and it will be, yeah, Ambessa mid for Aj.
Well, could it be a Rumble mid, actually? I think there's a word where you can technically go for it.
In a vacuum, yes, but with these players, like Aj is a huge melee AD mid guy, right? He's been drawing the Yone permaban, and Arbrio is a big Rumble player. So I would think, based on the players on the teams, that they do intend to go for the Ambessa mid.
Yeah, and I like this mix-up, by the way. Holding on to your last pick so that you can wait and see what they go for and then play the Ambessa mid. I really like the idea of the decision there. You still have the advantages of the Ambessa. Not only do you take it away from the enemy team, but you also can play it effectively to a certain degree. Yes, the poke from the way will probably be bothersome, but you have a melee mid laner for the Sejuani, so you can pop the passive much easier. And then you have a lot of ways to try and lock down this way in the mid lane and make it so that you can try and make his life really difficult to play around with. So like the idea there. And then you have a huge magical dealing carry in the form of this Rumble, because now there's barely anyone that will like to build a lot of resistance, let alone magic resistance, and that means that this Rumble is essentially going to just shred everyone in the map.
Yeah, really strong Rumble pick. I mean, could have been even stronger with the Vi on your team. Still surprised that they prioritized the Sejuani over the Vi in this situation, but you know, if they snap
and
Vi,
your ultimate does lock down people.
It does. I just think, like, if this Flippers draft goes the exact same way, but they have the Vi, this draft is insane. This is so.
Yeah, killing carries is much easier.
I'm a little surprised at the prio for one win here. I mean, maybe the whole draft looks different if this is an R2 Vi from Flippers, but still. Either way, I think it's a really strong draft out of Flippers as they look to close out this series. Calamity definitely going to need to make good use out of this Vi to be able to set up for success. I mean, their carries are both on very comfortable picks for them. The Hui, really strong here for Calamity. Been a big pick of Lonnie's all season long. Icade as well. The Corki picked more than anything else. Picked in pretty much every series they've played so far this season. It's 6 games total. This will be their 7th. So very strong for them. And they're going to need to execute on it. And that's kind of what it's going to come on down to. Needs to see this Corki Nautilus lane be able to get out of the laning phase, be able to be a strong DPS source later on, be able to stay safe up against the Ambessa Sejuani lockdown. If they can stay alive and disengage appropriately, which this Gragas will certainly help with, the Hui and the Nautilus can as well, then they can come out with fight wins.
Yeah, as long as it works out like that, they should be having good opportunities to make their fights go their way. That being said, they also have a good ways to just mess each other up thanks to the Gragas barrel, because one bad ultimate by the Gragas, you push away people from the Way ultimate, you essentially take away half of your team's damage in a team fight because of that. So there's a lot of communication and timing that needs to get done there in a really effective manner so that it's not lost out there badly in most team fights. But a good thing as well that Calamity does have this time around is the team fight setup, because they have point and click ultimate on the Vi, point and click ultimate on the Nautilus. It's really easy for them to get an ultimate down onto one of their carries, particularly onto the Jhin. So trying to get that kill is going to be really effective and not that difficult if they are able to lock down the targets effective as well as they can. But apart from that, as we were expecting, most champions going to what we kind of thought they were going to go, and that really matchup for Ashe is going to be really fun, seeing how he performs on the mesa.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of champion that I think Aj is really known for, right? The Yone, probably his most feared pick. It's the pick that he's been drawing bans on all season long. There's been 12 Yone bans prior to the night up against Aj, and it's out of, I think, 19 games played. And he's certainly always happy to be grabbing that one when it's up for him. If it's going to be permabanned, though, it certainly doesn't hurt to have other options available that kind of fill that role for your team. And doesn't take too many leaps of logic to put Ambessa in that category. So I think it's a smart selection for Flippers to kind of expand their AD mid options for Aj. I certainly think they would, if they could, they would sub out this Ambessa for a Yone in an instant. But bans are going to mean that they are not able to do so. I think if this is successful for them, though, it'll be a nice, dangerous alternate angle to play these kinds of comps later on. It really just complements the whole team very well when you're able to play these kind of AD mids for Aj. It's his most comfortable picks. It lets Arbrio play his Rumble, which is what he's most comfortable on. It'll just make the whole team gel a lot better if they can find more opportunities to assign these sorts of roles for the team.
It really opens up good space if you're able to play these sort of flex champions. It was similar to when Renekton mid was possible, or even Aatrox mid lane. I remember the time. It was great. But it enables you to have that sort of flexibility, not only in top lane, but in the jungle as well, right? Having a native physical mid laner means that you can also pull things like that Volibear before, which is more magical damage oriented, and not feel bad about not having a much higher mix of damage on your team. Or if you want to go for something like the Mordekaiser or the Gwen, not only the Rumble, that means that you have more options into your mid lane pool that provides more opportunities for your team. And I think that us showing this means that teams have to be extra careful now about what do they want to leave open, and if it's going to fit into their composition, they can 100% just go for it and give a better matchup to Arbrio.
Yeah, this is going to be the second Ambessa mid game out of Aj in this season of ACL. He did play it once before. Also has played a little bit of Yasuo here, so he's pushing the limits of what kinds of melee mids he's able to get onto. The Yasuo, an interesting pick. We've been seeing that a lot of Shochi in the open qualifiers lately, so not a pick that only Aj is going for. A little bit more Yasuo popularity over on the fringes of the competitive meta. The other thing about this pick is that it does make Trey Dog's Gragas really not have the kind of matchup you hope for. I mean, Gragas can play into anything. He can neutralize any lane. That's kind of his role. But playing up against the Rumble, who's going to be able to kind of match your range with the harpoons and, be able to kind of play at a distance and shield up when you poke with barrels, it's definitely not as good of a matchup as you might have gotten up against the Ambessa, where you could kind of punish those dashes and disrupt the combos with Body Slam. I think Arbrio will be much happier in this matchup than he would be playing Ambessa into the Gragas.
Yeah, you also don't get a stop from your flamethrower even if you try and stun him. So like that extra damage will always be applying to yourself, even if the Gragas tries to do anything at all. So the idea overall for this Rumble is going to be really effective up there in the top lane. The setup though for Calamity is quite easy to execute on. They have stun on the Gragas, stun on the Vi, and if the Rumble is a little bit too far forward, he can get locked down pretty effectively, and his survivability is not necessarily the highest. So he can still be taken down if you're able to coordinate effectively with your jungler. But the same can be said for Flipper's side. Like you have a lot of lockdown on Wenwin by himself, and then the damage part is going to be on Arbrio. So you can also lock down these two champions, Treydock and Hos, and then try and get an advantage for the Rumble as effectively as possible.
Yeah, for sure. Now going to be a little bit of extra time before we get started. I think they delayed getting into the in-client draft. We should be getting in just a few short moments. Icade and Pentius definitely, I think, encountering some struggles in the 2-on-2 in game number 1. Almibro and Inflame, I think, did a really good job. Outside of a couple of moments where Inflame maybe playing a little over-aggressive on that Leona, still able to put Omibro in a really strong position. I think now, on a very comfort bot lane for them, they've played this quirky Nautilus all season long. We need to see Calamity show up in this 2-on-2 and be able to enter the mid game without, Pentius having died 4 or 5 times, and with Icade either at parity or in an advantage up against this Jhin.
Yeah, ideally having some sort of potential to control this boss, because it is one of the places where in the previous game it kind of got way too difficult to control. Omi got really far ahead at one point. They were able to play around Omi and Summer really effectively. So it was effective for them to find multiple picks with the Paris and make it so that Icade and Pentius weren't able to do anything at all. So if it's something similar to this game, especially with Jin's really long range, it's bound to be really effective for them once again.
It's bound to be. We'll see if they're going to be able to replicate that success, or if Calamity will take us to game number 3 as we are on to Summoner's Rift for game number 2. Calamity Esports taking on the Flippers for a spot in top 12. This would be an elimination game for Calamity if they were to lose it.
Yeah, no more chances after this one. Either you get the win here or you don't. That's all there is to it. And already starting with a little bit of damage onto Arbro, really trying to stack up the passive as quickly as possible, but he's going to take damage once again there.
Yeah.
Actually
Arbrio,
doesn't.
especially one of the newer names in this scene, kind of showed up as a substitute for a little bit in OQs in 2024. Would be a very nice little boost to his resume here to get himself a top 12 in ACL, if not better, based on how Flippers are able to do in future rounds. You know, of course, everybody on Flippers always looking to improve on past results. Going to be big, important match for them here today. Calamity, of course, I think it would be a first top 12 ACL for all 5 of these players. They certainly are not going to want to give up without a fight. See how they're going to be able to do on their second draft here. But Aj already getting aggressive on this Ambessa, but getting punished.
Yeah, really good amount of trade back damage coming in from Lonnie there. And that's the thing about playing the range against the melee matchup, right? Even if you get on top of your enemy, you need to take the most out of your first rotations of spells, because with the continuation, this can happen. And Ash already taking a huge amount of damage in the mid lane. Really good training by Lonnie down there.
Yeah, now good little bit of early damage coming on through into the bottom lane. Inflame going to flip in Pentious. Pentious shorts the jump out with the dredge line and will lose over half his HP for it. An early error from the Calamity bot lane, once again going to give the advantage to Bro and Inflame.
Yeah, and I really like the way that both of them played it out. They were waiting until the very last second, although Inflame did engage, and then as soon as he engaged, level 2 was spelled by Omi, so making it so that they get the level 2 advantage whilst the engage is happening. So they can maximize the amount of abilities they can throw and force onto Pentious. Even though he doesn't blow an ability, he doesn't blow a flash or anything like that, still a huge amount of health that he lost, and that meant that he needed to step back a little bit more and give up the control for Omi and Inflame once again.
Yeah, and now a really good advantage in the bottom lane for Bro and Inflame. They should be able to continue to push for more health advantage for Inflame here. He just continues to take these kinds of aggressive, close to even trades. And Aj definitely not slowing down on the aggression, even though he is at that range disadvantage, trusting that that mobility can be good. And Pentious getting in there on the Bro, but there is junglers showing up here to try to disrupt the play. Wenwin going to dash out and forward. Tons of damage on Inflame. He might go down first. Icade is in there. Wenwin stuck on top of the Valkyrie. Going to take extra damage. Dredge line in from Pentious to turn it into 2. And Calamity are on the board first.
They were way too committed onto Pentious that they forgot about the rest, and that was such a nice realization there by Alcade, realizing that he could go follow up the play even more, and also that Omi cannot go for longer fights. As soon as his first 4 bullets are out, he cannot continue on the play, and that ends up paying the price for the side of Flippers as HJ gets stopped. Ooh. Should be fine.
Yeah, good buffer there on the whatever the damage reduction spell is called. I actually am not the best with Ambessa abilities, as Wenwin will find Halls. Goes for a quick little trade. Arbrio is actually coming down from top lane, but he does not have level 6 yet, so we'll kind of just be here posturing, unless, of course, he gets face checked by Halls. Arbrio just toasts Halls alive, and it's a free kill to the Flippers top laner.
That was a legitimate barbecue there by Arbrio, able to just burn holes away and doesn't even use the flash to try and escape at all. Realized his fate and just let it happen. In the process also, the Sejuani is able to get the camp in her favor, so at the very least recovering something for themselves and making it so that the strongest champion that we were thinking was going to be is the strongest champion, Arbrio here.
Yeah. Repudiation, by the way, is the name of that Ambessa ability that I didn't know the name of earlier. Keep that in mind for the future, or won't. Maybe one ear out the other. Nice dodges here from Aj, and these are why we've seen more and more of these kind of melee mids getting picked into the Hui. And this is part of the reason why, like, just being super mobile against a champion that is all line skill shots, it makes life tough for old Hui here. I know people feel like you kind of just throw down Molten Fissure and that's the whole laning phase, and it is that to some degree, but to do anything else, you kind of need to connect line skill shots, and that's tough to do against Ambessa.
I don't know why that kind of reminded me of Serat for some reason. It feels similar to that as well when you think about it. Although with like 3 or 4 more skills to play with.
The big pick is, and this is where I mentioned Shochi's Yasuo again. He's been picking the Yasuo into it. His wind wall is just nuts against this guy, because even your ultimate to line skill shot really makes things tough on the way. And has been doing so to a lot of success. Has already qualified for the promotion tournament doing it. See if Aj can continue to find these kinds of advantages up against Lonnie. So far, Calamity.
Rywer's so strong at this point.
True. Calamity navigating the early game pretty well here. In Flame. Gonna get yanked in, gonna have to jump out, and that's gonna be a big engage tool already off of the table. Aj holding down the minions in mid. Lonnie's here to help on out, and I think this first dragon is just gonna go to Calamity. They're kind of calling off any kind of contest. Arbrio was walking down, but he's returning.
Yeah, that's just a pretty free dragon there, especially because when was over on the top side, it was really difficult for them to even try and force something like that, as that's a huge trade onto Lonnie. HJ doing a really good job as, Pentius wanting to go for it.
Great damage there onto Inflame. And yeah, Aj opting for the Electrocute here over the more traditional like Conqueror setups. He's looking to play like an assassin in this one-on-one up against Lonnie, and so far has been doing so to great effect, getting himself a solid little CS advantage. Good combo from Lonnie here, though. Going to chunk Aj out and force him to retreat.
Ulti was used there as well, so even though he is forced out without an ultimate, it does mean that you are able to force Aj away. He doesn't have teleport, so he has to think about what his next choice of the plan is going to be. So they are looking for Lonnie here, and Arbrio has ultimate as well. If they can connect, maybe they can burn down this way.
Be an option. Lonnie's doing a good job of hugging underneath his turret, though, so as long as he keeps his wits about him for where Wenwin might be, uses the flash appropriately, should be able to have some outplay potential here, and they're not even going to look for the play for the time being. Instead, back to the jungle for both of these junglers, just to continue to keep their farm on up. Wenwin is gradually building out a lead in the jungle matchup once again, just sneaking in a couple of extra camps here and there, while Halls looks for plays that aren't always transpiring in his favor, so just a couple hundred gold in Wenwin's favor.
Yeah, just making it so that at the very least it's a little bit farther ahead than compared to the previous game, where we saw much forced Wenwin into an awful spot because of how the early game went. But this time around, when you look at the gold leads, there's not like a clearly clear big gold lead in one favor. Like you have Omi not as far ahead as he was before, but he may die here. Actually, there's no one even here.
No, Pentius is just like staying here. He's not going to take the recall at all. I think he's hoping that Omi Bro will push up too far. Kind of sees that opportunity dwindle away, although here comes Halls. They might look for the dive on this, but there's no wave even nearby at all, so it's going to be tough.
They're going to commit.
Topside as well.
Oh, Omi, you're dead.
Here comes the combo. Everybody on Omi Bro flashed away from the skills. Trey Dog is finished on the top side. Halls is going to fall to this turret shot, and that's Feat of Warfare to Calamity in just the nick of time, but it is not worth it at all to trade 1-for-1 here while your top lane gets dove.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it at all either, and they also have the grub, so they should have a much better pushing power here. It is only going to be Arbrio, but overall, it's pushing in top lane, pushing in mid lane, and a 1-for-1 in general. Or actually 2-for-1, because the Halls did die, and then they weren't able to trade anything topside. Overall for Calamity, much more value, but if you're thinking about your mid game and late game, I keep getting that sort of advantage. It's still good, because your AD carry is getting really far ahead.
Yeah, I wonder if we have a replay on that Gragas dive. I'm just curious how things went so bad for Trey Dog. He had cleared the wave. He was at a moderate health total. He had ultimate and flash. Doesn't get to use either of them, and he falls. And Gragas is usually pretty strong in those kinds of scenarios. Oh, he's out of mana.
Really lucky, and everything connects. Like, look at that. Connected, CC into ultimate, into not enough health bars, into 3 tanks or 2.5 tanks.
Oh, yeah, you gotta flash that glacial prison there as Omi Bro's just getting belted down. One more shot from Icade will be able to secure the kill. Does go on over to Pentius, and now the double TP.
That's a lot of damage, though.
Lonnie's uses too late, and Aj is able to come back in and make it into a 1-for-1 when Win going to flashback away, still taking a lot of damage. It's another TP being channeled. This one's Arbrio. Aj full sending it, can't quite finish off Pentius, but he's
they have the damage
for his top laner, who rolls up with the flame spinner and melts them down. 3 kills over to Flippers.
Yeah, the fire is enough to burn the lives of multiple members, but here, the initial play, once again, Pentius just finding these angles over on the side, able to get on top of Almi really effectively, and then the follow-up is so easy to pull off. The Ignite, I think, is the last thing that puts away, actually, the rocket into the Ignite, able to kill it there, and no ultimate was used at that point, but it's able to get multiple kills in that position. You're able to also bring Ash down here, which means that you're able to burst down multiple targets effectively, and then when the Rumble gets here, it's such an easy fight to pull off, because at that point you have flamethrower, you have a lot of magical damage that goes unchecked, and it's really easy to follow up. There was even a chance for Ash to almost survive in that position. Gets the kill here, but not enough to just last enough for Lonnie to not get the kill.
And these are the kinds of plays that really did in Calamity in game number 1, TDS. It's the forced plays that look good at the start, but you just don't quite have the resources to get them over the finish line. And then Flippers get the opportunity to punish. We needed to see some decisive calls from Calamity that can actually be completed and just walk away with the 1-for-0, with the 2-for-1, and then continuing to reach for plays that just aren't working out.
They need to do more than just pull the trigger. They need to actually connect the bullet, and that's something that has been difficult for them in the previous game and in this one as well. But they are going to collect the second dragon of the game. It's going to be not a lot of contest here. It's also important to know. Oh, wait, actually.
Wow, big engage from Inflame, but there's just no follow-up. He's going to lose so much of his health to start things off. Curtain Call opened up on the opposite side. He's going to melt on down to that spiraling despair. And now Omibro coming in on the side. They're going to be able to focus everything onto Aj. And Ambessa not tanky enough. Repudiation won't save you there. That's a 3rd kill of the game to Pentius.
Yeah, that is a pretty interesting kill that Pentius is able to get for free, but I'm questioning is the idea behind that. Why force an engage like that there in Flame? They were so far away from even being able to attempt that, and it's not like Ash tried to use the ultimate immediately to follow up. Like, they were really far away from even being able to accomplish anything, and there's also a Jhin with only boots and as a Raider. That's it. You don't have enough damage to follow up on your engage or hold long enough to be able to play that up. Really weird decision, and even though they lost the dragon, they also get a free kill on the side of Calamity.
That's real mindset right there, baby. You think I'm supposed to see a crash down angle onto 3 people and not take it? A difficult ask, and I think, Inflame, definitely a player who's happy to pull the trigger when he gets the opportunity to do so, maybe to his detriment in that case.
Yeah, maybe do it when there's more people around you, but this is a test. It's actually a test to see if we can pull it off later on in the game when it matters.
Ooh.
Actually.
It's getting collapsed on here. The 3-in-1 Nautilus, a big carry to be focused on. Trey Dog going to try to run interference with the explosive cast. He might get himself caught out here, though. Phase Rush doing a lot to be able to get him out into a safe distance, and he will scoot away with the body slam. Health bar number advantage over to Flippers here, but it does look like Calamity have gotten themselves out of danger.
Oh, I see them just trying to go over. There is 4 members here. They actually have 1 more member.
I am surprised that they do not give this up, but actually able to clear the way quickly. Icade coming in on the flank has to be a little bit respectful here. Omibro's going to be able to snag him. Nice cleanse from Icade. Just in the nick of time, we'll get him out of there, and Aj misses public execution. And all in all, that just gives first turret over to Calamity. Feats of Warfare come with it. Nicely done. Calamity get themselves out of a shaky situation in top, and they cash out for Lonnie in the bot lane.
Yeah, something that should have been extremely scary for them actually turns quite nicely, because not only Lonnie gets free time and gets the turret, they also, like you're mentioning, get the Feats of War. They get a lot of gold value onto this wave that was a little bit struggling, and now, pretty easy kill.
Nice move there from Halls onto Arbrio. We'll be able to make that play happen, and we'll be able to get another kill cashed out for Calamity. They're going to try to convert this over into the Rift Herald. I think they're going to be able to take it. Just a lot weaker on the top side of the map are Flippers now. They're going to continue
There's no
to...
member even.
build out their
Everyone's
advantage. They're going to get this top turret as well. And there's a TP being channeled by Trey Dog here. This might be a little dangerous for him.
They are not going to commit here, though. They are not in position on the other members, and it looks like AHJ is going to take damage, but actually Trade Off takes a lot of damage as well. They actually want to go here now.
Oh, there's Magnet Storm. It doesn't connect
like
from Inflame. He takes another turret shot. They're trying to slow him down. They're calling over Lonnie for a little bit of artillery support. And I mean, I still don't think that was a good TP from Trey Dog, but Flippers do not execute the dive.
Oh.
Flip in onto Lonnie, though. Explosive cast, not going to buy him the space, and Inflame finds his man one way or the other. But now going to get collapsed on the opposite side. Dredgeline going to pull him back in. The focus damage coming on through from the Vi, and they're going to give it over to Trey Dog. Now Wenwin going to be the next target getting focused onto, has only health, not many resistances. Big double knockback from Trey Dog to set up for 2 more to Calamity. Omi Bro has to flash back away, but Trey Dog going to stick on top of him. Holes with a flash Vault Breaker to hold him still, and Trey Dog is cashing out huge on this play. Make it 3 kills total. Calamity coming up with an ace in game number 2.
Yeah, everything is just working out much better for Calamity, and a lot of this comes from Flippers just flipping it up really badly. Everything is working not the way that they are intending to, and even though they get this first kill onto Lonnie here, they haven't engaged onto the rail. It's not a good follow-up because they have multiple ultimates that are down here, but importantly, AHJ or Ash never follows up with his ultimate. He actually didn't even use public execution at all to try and get on top of Ikid or anything like that. Even after this huge ultimate from the Rumble, he gets deleted immediately because it's not a tank or a tankier Mbessa. It's a pretty damage heavy Mbessa that is going to get exploded immediately. And then also, they were playing all of that without the Rel ultimate. Rel messed up the ultimate engage on the bottom lane turret, and that means that even if they find an angle to maybe look for something when the Rel is alive, they don't have the ultimate to follow up, so they are playing it off really badly because they are not connecting with their ultimates at the right time.
Yeah, huge fight win for Calamity without Lonnie, who had so much of the gold onto him at that stage.
Yep.
Really good for them. Let's Icade get even deeper into the game here. They get themselves their final outer turret off that Rift Herald charge, and now with the map a little bit more opened up, going to look for some poke as they back on away. This Dragon going to be the next focus. Calamity need to regroup a little bit before they can get started. They're a little bit split here.
Yeah, the members are not in the right spot for the side of Clippers, but also for Calamity. But with the control that they have over the river, it should be, oh, engage.
Ooh, engage comes through. It gets tanked up by Halls. He's going to be the one being focused on. Icade on the back line gets dove by Aj, but they're able to return fire and take him down. Icade is untouched. All the engage tools already used, and a Corki going to have a chance to just open on up here, but they were able to finish off Lonnie. Meanwhile, Aj and Wenwin have been able to retreat at slivers of HP. Inflame not likely to be getting out of this one. Icade will be handed the killing spree. It's a 2 for 2 control to Calamity thanks to those blinking health bars.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like they can try and get the dragon here because first of all, Wenwin is alive, and second, they have teleport and Ash. That means that he can just try and re-engage here without having to worry much. Trey Dog doesn't have teleport, Pentius doesn't have teleport, so they have to disengage from this dragon. That means that we're more than likely getting a second round of dragon fight here.
Yeah, does look like they're going to have to go to another one. I do think all in all that's good for Calamity though. Flipper's a lot more ultimate dependent. No Magnet Storm, no public execution, no Glacial Prison, no Equalizer.
They used everything.
I don't know how you tussle with Calamity there. I mean, there's still a Corki and a Hui that are just going to push their buttons on you. They don't need ultimates to be those big forces, and you cannot reach them without your ultimates. So you're going to have to give this up. Sole point to Calamity.
Yeah, they're giving it up, but I feel like they are glad to just have taken the gold in their favor. They are in a spot where fighting for the dragon is good, but if you don't get a complete ace, getting the dragon was going to be really, really difficult. Or at the very least, killing Alkid without, or trying to force the dragon without killing Alkid was going to be really difficult. So I feel like they take the best choice that it's at their hands and trying and make something out of it. They get a turret, they get gold into the Jhin and gold onto the Rumble, and gold into Ash as well, and maybe force something much better for a future fight.
For sure. Now grouping on up around mid. It'll be Flippers. There's going to be a bit of a downtime until that next objective comes on up. Otacon going to be the only one on the table for now, but it's a tough ask to start it up for either of these teams right now, but getting pushed to the bottom lane, having already secured that turret, going to be a good start for Lonnie.
They're going to be good enough so that they can try and make something happen. And the Anakin control is also going to be really nice. The fact that they have so much vision in their favor for it is going to be quite good in general as well. And they are trying to make it so that it's easier for them to try and force a team fight in this position. Not sure how effective it will be, but they are trying to make it work out better. And also because of how the game has been going, even though Arbro was having a much better time in the lane and got a couple of kills, he actually fell behind in CS to the Aegis, and it's behind in gold to him.
Yeah, that's going to be a really solid game out of TreyDawg. I mean, it's been a little quiet, but it's been very good for him. And they've come on out with a number of
they really won
fights, thanks to that Gragas, as Lonnie going to be trying to get Pentious out of here for free. Really big.
They are committing so much.
Molten Fissure there, getting a fair bit of damage on through, but Inflame pops the Gravity Storm and does get to hold down Pentious for long enough for Flippers to be able to secure that kill. That's a lot of abilities, though, used for just the Nautilus. 3 ultis down for Flippers. Looking at the Otacon, but I don't think they can do it.
No, I think they're probably trying to get this turret first, and then maybe look into potentially getting something like the Anakin. Oh, TreyDawg by himself.
Fight starting off. TreyDawg gonna have to get out of here with that phase rush. Will have no problem doing so, and he's kind of there to cover for Icade. Actually pulling the trigger on Arbrio, trying to flash away, but Icade will finish him off. But now here comes the collapse from the side. Has Icade overexerted himself? Halls is here to run interference, going to try to slow them up, but he's gonna get focused down. It's a pick from Aj. Halls is off the map. TP in from Lonnie, but it's too little too late.
And with no smite here, that means that they probably cannot try and force something. Oh, wait, TreyDawg.
Back in over the wall. TreyDawg maybe up too far.
Bye-bye.
Stunned out of the body slam and finished off by Omi Bro. Calamity. They get a nice little play, but they are up too far in mid, and they are picked to pieces.
Really great shot. Now look at that. That's an eye completed now for Ami just before the next dragon fight. That is a pretty huge timing they are able to get thanks to that kill onto TreyDawg. And even though TreyDawg has the teleport, it is going to take him a little bit longer before he can come back. So that means that they can try and regain some control over the Anakin, over the dragon, and crucial teamfight ultimates are going to be back. There's already the Glacial Prison. They also have the Rumble's, I always forget his name, the Equalizer, and also the ultimate for the Rel. So they have multiple important ultimates for this last or next team fight, and if they are able to lock everyone down, they can find multiple great angles.
I wonder what Calamity, if the Otacon becomes the subject, I wonder how big Calamity will really commit for it. Their ability to get this dragon would be huge for them. Hextech Soul, so powerful, especially with a team composition like this where you can proc it on the poke. See if they're going to just wait a minute here. Does look like they're posturing for positioning in the river. Pet be able to jump out. It's a big engage from Inflame, but the follow-up is only coming through onto Halls. He's going to throw down the cease and desist onto Arbrio. Get a little bit of damage onto him, but the follow-up will not be there. It's TreyDawg on the bottom flank, but it comes through too late. 5 versus 4. Flippers with the advantage.
Yeah, there is no smite, so this could be the Anakin. The problem is that they are trying to force this Anakin with 40 seconds or less than 40 seconds.
They're just hard forcing mid. They're gonna get an inner.
Yeah, it's right here though. Is this worth it? Because I'm thinking about the dragon, and if they take a lot of damage, it can be a little bit risky to go for it. Actually, no, there is portal, so it is worth it in the context of what they're able to accomplish here, and if they can get to the dragon quickly enough. The turret is nice, but I don't think it's going to be game losing at this point, particularly because it wasn't going to stop them from getting into the jungle anyway.
Yeah, it will be Halls booking it back towards the dragon. I'm surprised they're not starting this up. They think they can set a trap and burst out Inflame. He's pulled in. They're going for the one shot. He gets the crash out on through. Icade is hit by the public execution, and Icade goes down. AoE damage from Lonnie is absolutely massive, though. Everybody held together in a circle for the burn coming through from Spiraling Despair and the Molten Fissure. When going to be the next target, everything comes on through. He misses Spiraling Despair, though. That will stop him from being able to finish off the kill. Another big Q from Lonnie connects, and this is all on Lonnie and TreyDawg. One more severing bolt takes off Aj, and TreyDawg is still looking for some more. Omi Bro looking for the kill, has to avoid the barrel, and does manage to kite it on around on the side. This is a 4th shot Jin, TreyDawg. You gotta be careful here, but he smells blood in the water. He wants it, looking for the ultimate, misses it. Omi Bro! One more in the clip finds the kill.
Yeah, that was really smooth there by Omi, and that should be Dragon in reality. There's no teleport from Traydog for the next 40 seconds. Ash will spawn in 15. They have this mine in position. They have multiple members back up. Once again, ultimates are back in favor of the side of Flippers. So this should be a Dragon for them, although there's members that are not coming here. Where the hell are they going?
It's not as many people on the Dragon as you would expect. Like you're saying, Icade already starting to focus it down. Lonnie dumping skills over the wall. Here comes the equalizer. It's all in for the Dragon. It's going to be a 50-50 and stolen by Wenwin. And there goes Pentius as well. Flippers tie up the kill score at 20-20 and take the lead.
Look, I know their name is Flippers, but they shouldn't take it as literally as that, because that could have been game-losing moment, sending people to Baron Buff for who knows why. But now, there is no support, they have 5 members, and they can try and maybe force a trap here, not needing to start immediately. They are going to, though. Ash may find someone here, actually.
Oh, Traydog throws down the explosive cask. He does have his carries here. Ash is actually going to get blown up. It's a big magnet storm from Inflame, but he's cut off from the rest of the team. Cease and Desist going to come on through to hold him down. And it's a double kill over to Icade. Now over the wall. Hall's looking to take this one a little bit further. Maybe in a little bit too early. Has Lonnie and Icade back over the wall. And it was a portal taken by Traydog. Now it's Traydog who's going to get on a little bit of a wild goose chase inside of the enemy jungle. Will he be able to get out of here? Does seem like he's created some distance for himself. And with that pick on the Aj and Inflame, this is a Baron angle for Calamity.
Yeah,
they're going to start it up.
They can now go for it. Traydog is waiting.
They don't even know Traydog's here.
No, Wenwin is on the side. You cannot kill Wenwin though, but it's still something that they have to be worried
No, but he's marking the jungler while they work on the Baron.
They're giving up Baron.
Yeah.
He's mited the red buff, so it's just a free Baron. I think they could have potentially fighted it. Equalizer was about to be up. They had ultimate on Wenwin. There's no flash on Pentius. There's no flash on Halls. There's no ultimate on Halls even. So interesting decision, respecting a lot of what Calamity can do. Theoretically, not reality, because they have a lot of ultimates that are down and a lot of flashes that are down. But with this Baron buff now, maybe they can finally push into the base. Oh.
We'll have to see. Calamity putting up a great fight in what could be their last game. Traydog gets found. It's a flash magnet storm fail from Inflame. And he's going to have to back on away. So that's explosive cask exchanged for the ultimate of Inflame.
Yeah, and they are trying to close down on the immediate retreat path from some of the members, but they are not going to be successful there. It's going to be quick response by the other members. The only one that is out of position is Inflame, but it's going to be fine there.
Halls.
Nice Halls.
Looking for a little something here. Gets found by the stun. Aj looking for the fight. Aj going to get cease and desisted. They're going to be able to burst him out. What are we fighting over? There's no objectives on the map, but everybody just takes a brawl in the bottom lane. And Aj drops down 45 seconds. Calamity going to get a great opportunity here to cash out on some inner turret gold.
Yeah, the only thing is that there is no ultimate now from Halls, so maybe they can try and protect, but there's also no equalizer. So it's going to be scary to try and protect this or fight this. As a lot of damage does come through, Omi has ulti, maybe this can be a little bit of a force.
Yeah, I think just going to back away here. Omi bro going to fend them off. The presence of this Baron, I mean, makes taking fights like that so dangerous. It's such a great punish angle. Wenwin's it too far. Flippers taking crazy fights up against Baron buff are giving up their entire base.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking they probably are wanting to go into game 3 just cause, because there's no way these are decisions that they are willingly taking at this point without really thinking about the position in the map for the rest of the members. They are losing inhibitor now. They are going to lose. Probably they are going to be pushed into the base.
Traydog.
He just wants to stop Arbrio here. And
Traydog is at a 2-level advantage, even though the Otacon was picked up by Flippers. So their roses are worth more XP. It just doesn't matter. There's going to be a solo kill likely coming through for Traydog soon. Arbrio's been able to flash away, but they're just forcing the play in the Nexus. And Flippers finally going to be that solo kill for Traydog. Calamity strike back in game number 2. And they say, screw the Dragon Soul. We'll close the game out right now.
Yep, they close out the game just like that, and we're going to game 3. This kind of felt a game of who can throw the hardest to a certain degree, because a lot of those fights, question marks to say the least. Like, you can see the instances where the game was looking bad and it turned into bad again for the other side and kind of flip-flopped, but it was worst for for Flippers than it was for Calamity, because the gold leads for Calamity were much bigger than whatever gold Flippers were able to get in comparison. And a lot of that was just threading on if they were able to get the right team fights at the right time, which they did once. But then after that, every time it was like waiting for the right opportunity, but then throwing themselves into the fire and getting burned, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely here. I mean, what a game coming through from Calamity. Get some comfortable champions on towards their solo laners as well as onto Icade, and they execute here a really, really strong performance out of Lonnie, out of Icade, out of Trey Dog, making the difference here. And you know, Pentius did a solid job as well, getting a lot of those critical dredge
great
lines
engages.
and really good engages. Yeah, I mean, Flipper's kind of taking a page out of Game 1 Calamity's book, taking fights, especially at the end there, that they do not have the tools to finish. And Flippers get finished for it. Calamity Esports taking us to game number 3, keeping themselves in the ACL for at least one more game.
Yeah, one more game, and potentially even more than that if they are able to win it. And Flippers are going to be banging their heads because a lot of this game was extremely doable for them, but they kind of threw their leads or their opportunity, not even their leads. I feel like more so their opportunities, because even without a lead, they were finding good angles, but they kind of like went way too heavy on some of those other plays, and it bit them at the end. Good thing though is that at the very least now Corky's banned, and also the Way, and also the Vi, so you can kind of play around that better now.
Absolutely here. With that said, we are going to throw it to a quick break as we get in a draft for game number 3. But we're going the full distance tonight, everybody.
Yeah,
get excited. We finally... Wait, is this the curse break? Have we done it?
No, we already did last week.
Did we break the curse last week? Am I crazy?
with the 3.
Oh yeah, Galaxy Legacy went to 3. Galaxy Legacy went to 3. Okay. Yeah, well, either way, I mean, twice in a row. Let's go, baby. It's playoffs time. 3-game series all the way until we get to best of 5s. Then they're going to go longer. Stick around. We'll be back with game number 3 to find out who is eliminated and who will lock a spot in top 12 after a few short minutes.
Away
welcome back everybody to tonight's broadcast of the ACL, where Flippers and Calamity are going to game number 3. I knew we'd find one that went the distance here, TDS, and shout out to Ivar. Actually, Ivar picked this one. So, yeah, but
circumstances arise, but we're here in a 3-game series.
I'll take it. I'll take it every time. Looking around the rest of the league, does look like Citadel are up 1-0 over Next Level Esports, but that is not where we want to focus right now. Where we want to focus right now is on the series ahead of us. Something I want to focus on here, TDS, in Fearless Game 3 is going to be Lonnie's champion pool. Lonnie has played 5 champions throughout this ACL season. Ari is fearless away, Hui is fearless away, Talia is fearless away, Azir has been permabanned. That would leave Jace. There goes Azir. Jace is the only champion left that Lonnie has played in ACL in this season.
And Pantheon also was banned away in the previous games and finally sees the light of day and able to be picked here by Flippers when we're going to have a fun time with the champion. And we also need to see how the pools are going to be stretched here, particularly in the jungle, with a lot of the champions already taken out because of picks and also bans. It's going to be interesting seeing what the option is. Maybe something like the Kindred could be an option here. Maokai also another good one, which can be flexed. And there's the Jace. Yeah, and Maokai Jace is one of the stronger duos when they were perma-picked and banned. That was one of the stronger duos, as also the Lucian and Milio, that was quick. But it was also, Lucian was banned in the previous game as well in the second round of bans, if I'm not wrong. So not a bad option to go for. And also the Milio here to have an extra oomph to your damage dealing potential. I think for Ami, probably better than the Jhin, not because he didn't play the Jhin well enough, but because it does give you more consistent damage opportunities compared to that Jhin.
Yeah, it's not really a duo that I associate with Ami, bro, and Inflame. I mean, Inflame is the big engage guy. You've kind of seen it from him all series long. We lost a pick there. That was
the Jace.
That was the Jace. I do expect.
Didn't pick the Jace, actually.
I don't know what's going on here. I'm gonna assume that Jace is real. Okay, well, so the Jace is picked. We know it's Jace. All right, there you go. Jace comes on through, and Misfortune will be the other selection here. So really starting with the Maokai. I think this is good. This is starting to become like a really long range kind of pokey composition. I don't hate the Misfortune in comps like these, where you can really capitalize on a route or something. I do think we want to see a little bit more of long-range lockdown, though, to be able to get good use out of this Misfortune. Things like the Nico on my mind, which are banned away. So
yeah, it's already out.
I mean, Lilia in the jungle is the other classic, but the Maokai very likely going to be going towards the jungle here.
It has to be something like a Sion or a Norn that can force and engage from a really long distance, and that way set it up for the Misfortune, feels like at this point. Because as far as supports are left, maybe a Brown with the ultimate could be the option, potentially. Like, it's not even that straightforward, and because Leona and Nautilus and Rel are all out already, Alistar would be the only engaged, the other engaged support that you would think of, but he has to dive head in to be able to accomplish that, and I'm not sure if that's something that you wanna like effectively do with this sort of composition.
Absolutely here. Shout out to Literal Monkeys coming in with the raid here. We are going into game 3 of an elimination series here for ACL. So you've arrived here just in time. 2 sets of constant OQ competitors looking to secure themselves an ACL top 12. Get a little bit of a resume boost from that and see how much further they can take an ACL journey. Alistair, the lock-in here for the Calamity side. So that's going to be coming through for Pentius. A little bit more of an engaged support that he is used to, and going to be a pick that can do a lot of damage up against an enchanter like Melio. Not on its own, but will be able to lock down to support up the harass from the others. And Arbrio going for the Scion here. So second most played this season after the Rumble, and a frontliner that this team has appreciated having all season long. Let's find some DPS from mid, though, for Aj. The Azir would be the default, but it's banned away.
Yeah, probably like what's left is probably the Orianna, but I think Azel wouldn't be that bad. Although you are going against the Jace could be scary, but the Victor makes the most sense actually, and it probably the Orianna and the Victor would be the more typical choices that are picked in this position. So completely normal that we see the Victor here. Really good consistent damage dealer in the later stage of the game, and may suffer a bit against the Jays, but not necessarily to the extreme that some other mid lane champions may. So not a bad choice. As far as top lane though, actually this could be a Ryze top lane. Yeah, I'm So it could be a Rice mid lane, obviously, and a Jace top would be the more typical one. But if the Rice goes top lane, I like the idea here because against the Sion, you're barely going to get any sort of interaction, bad interaction for yourself, and you have a lot of lockdown for this Maokai to come through as well.
Yeah, I mean, the narrative default, right, would be Lonnie's only played 5 champions in ACL.
Yeah.
The only one left with all the Fearless and all the bans is the Jace. So you'd assume Lonnie's going to play the Jace. He could just be showing us a 6th champion. This is a Fearless format in an uncapped league, so I'm sure this guy plays 6 champions.
Especially Rise.
He could be showing us the Rise. But I mean, this would be I believe this would be a Treydog first Rise or Treydog first Jace. I can go and confirm that. I have a little stat sheet on the side.
So on the rosters, it looks like on the champion base, it looks like it is Treydog's Rise.
Yeah, Treydog has not played a game of either in ACL so far, so it is on the table as either option. But as we are expecting, based on how everybody is assigned to load into the draft, it does look like it's going to be the Treydog Rise top. I like these matchups more than the alternative.
Yeah, overall, I'm not against it. Like, you get pressure in mid lane because of how the Jace works on that lane, and you still get the value from the Maokai Jace, thanks to the point and click CC from the Maokai. And then in top lane, the Rise is not going to get bothered at all by the Sion, realistically. He's going to push lane, similar to what the Jace could potentially do. And then he also will get enough time to stack up on things like the Tier or like the Rod, which I've seen that people are saying that ignore the Rod because now Rise is essentially much stronger than before. But you can still go for that and find value anyway. And you also will have double root against the Sion, so his escape is going to be much difficult to pull off.
Absolutely here, and just because we're going to have plenty of time to talk about the draft, want to give some updates from around the ACL here. Citadel take a 2-0 win over Next Level Esports to move on to the upper bracket. DIA Esports take a 2-0 over Apex to move on. Galaxy with a 2-0 over Pookie Bear, and Conviction with a 2-0 over Prosperity. So kind of favorites moving on in the upper bracket across the board, somewhat as expected. Our top 4 for the upper bracket now settled with that one. But in the lower bracket, Deathmark Esport with a 2-0 win over UCI, eliminating University of California Irvine from 7th seed in the playoffs.
From NACL Oakes, eliminated just like that.
Yeah, I mean, the team that is still competing in OQs that will be played a match for qualification, will play another match for qualification. Former ACL champions.
Yep.
UCI Esports eliminated.
ACL is that difficult. That's the thing.
Eliminated 13th through 16th. So that's a big upset. Already got one in the board today. Calamity, even though it's 12th seed versus 13th seed playoffs wise, I think a Calamity win here would very much be an upset.
Agree. I would agree as well. I think Calamity, on paper, for essentially almost everyone, they weren't looking like the favorites at all, and it's kind of difficult to argue against it, but they have been playing well enough. I think first game they could even try and go themselves to get the victory, but Clippers played it better. The second game they really showed up much better. So this last game, it's all going to be on who can have the better performance, obviously, but also who can perform better on their champions, because a lot of this is going to be comfort. Bar Treydog's Rise, every other player is playing a lot of comfort here, and should be good enough for them to try and make it be effective against Clippers.
Definitely. And been an interesting top lane day, with kind of each top laner getting a win over the other in maybe somewhat unexpected circumstances. The big Treydog Gragas game into Arbrio's Rumble, and then Arbrio having a very successful Cassante into Treydog's Yorick. We'll see how this continues here. It feels like it should be a strong Rise matchup, but I mean, we've kind of had these inverted throughout the entire day. So,
yep.
You know, maybe Arbrio just starts popping off with solo kills. Who's to say?
He actually solo kills the Rise and the Maokai out of nowhere, and then goes into the mid game with 3 items already.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be the craziest thing we've seen happen in ACL playoffs. I'll tell you that much. And then I do want to shout out, I mean, Hall's getting this Maokai for the Maokai Jace combo. I think a pretty good result for Calamity when pushed to a fearless game 3 situation. This is a team that I think has a smaller champion pool than a lot of these teams. They really have their kind of bread and butters that they go into series in and series out, especially Lonnie. And the fact that they get a strong duo between Halls and Lonnie in a series where, you know, Lonnie's got a limited champion pool that he's shown across the entire season, and Halls had a very close pool with wins. So we knew that jungle contested picks were going to be difficult, especially when stuff like this Pantheon gets snapped up early on the blue side as kind of the last big contested pick between these two teams. The fact that Hall still gets onto the Maokai, something that he's played quite a bit of, and it's a strong duo with Lonnie's Jace. I mean, everything kind of works out about as well as it could have for Calamity here in a Game 3 Fearless situation.
Yeah, sad we didn't get to see the contested Udyr on either side, because it's not
permaban.
We don't get to see that champion anymore as much anymore, so it could have been fun for either of them to try and play it. But permaban, it's what happens when you have such a weird contested champion, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you know what though? If you're Halls, I think you hang your hat on that a little bit, that you forced a Udyr ban out of Win on red side.
Yeah,
I think that's, you know, that's a pretty nice dub for yourself right there. A little bit of respect between two Udyr jungle players coming in on tonight's ACL featured match.
you know you're doing something good if you're able to pull that off, and especially if you're able to win at the end, because if they are able to get the victory over them, it's even much better.
Yeah, I mean, Win is definitely like the Udyr that folks in ACL are more afraid of at the very least. Win has drawn 16 Udyr bans in 20 games over the course of the ACL, and he's going to add 2 more to that over the course of tonight. So definitely a player who nobody wants to allow to get Udyr, but Halls, you know, giving him a run for his money here. They know on the Flippers side, you know, Halls will steal this from us, and it'll end up Fearless away. It's a fun little mind game that you see in a full Fearless format, right? Because it's, even if you think you can beat it, if you leave it up and let Calamity snap it up on blue side, then if you do go to a Game 3, well, now Calamity doesn't have to ban the Udyr, and they get more ban options. So interesting little mind game there that Flippers
that you can take away from yourself, right? Because it's not only the fact that it can be played and then denied for a potential ban, but also it gets taken away from your pool. So if you're already in a small pool of champions and you're a contested champion and it gets taken away, that already leaves you in a bad spot. That's the thing that I like about Fearless. The fact that you can be forced into so many situations that you don't want to, and you have to just take it. Like you have to understand that it's either that or you cry and lose the game anyway. So I'm a huge fan of Fearless because of things like this, and I will always advocate in favor of it.
Yeah, I'm kind of Fearless pilled now. I mean, I was a big naysayer to it for a long time, but now that we've had it for, you know, everywhere for a good, like, maybe we'll call it like 60% of a season, I think I'm sold. I think it's created some very interesting draft situations and gotten us a lot of interesting picks.
I also still stand by I also, by the way, do not take the narrative that it makes it less competitive, or not less competitive, like the highest level doesn't get better because of the variety that it brings. And I still won't buy that narrative, by the way. I feel like that's just wanting to look for an excuse to going back to just being able to recycle the same champions, because that is just a problem that I see here. That's not a problem anywhere else. It's just a problem here, and it's because of the amount of time that it's been played normally. But I think that, okay, in general, later on in Fearless, people are going to realize that you can still do that, and it's going to turn the same way that it did before. So I'm still, like, I'm excited to see how Fearless will keep on evolving. Yes, that's the word. Evolving in the ecosystem of League of Legends. And more so with teams that are willing to bring out champions that are not expected at all.
Yeah, there are metas where it'll get, maybe we'll get a little bit more difficult, but we will wait and see. For right now, I do think the pools are deep enough that there's definitely something very interesting to be found.
And we have enough champions for it as well. Like 160
yeah, when you do
something,
get this
it's
deep in,
good enough.
There's really a lot of chances here to show a little bit more diversity, at least in the meta that we've had so far for 2025. There are past metas where I can imagine it getting to be a little goofy, but I do think, I agree, there's room for evolution as well. There's room for some real smart drafters to come on through and really deduce some advantages for themselves that are going to go a little bit under the radar. I think that aspect is very fun.
Yep. So just setting up for something really fun, and glad that we were one of the pioneers technically of full fearless. So I think we were right. Like we were probably one of the first few tournaments that did actually full fearless, not only half.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take credit anytime for sure. I mean, we've kind of just been mimicking whatever NACL is doing, so you know, you could give that credit to NACL perhaps, but
Now we have
accept
to
it.
take it for ourselves. We have to take it for ourselves.
For sure, for sure. I mean, we got an extra season on it compared to stuff like LTA. That's for sure.
Exactly.
As we get on to Summoner's Rift, game number 3, kicking off right now. Flippers on the blue side, Calamity on the red. Elimination on the line, as is a spot in top 12.
And it's all devolving into the typical staring competition between both sides trying to gain control of vision that maybe will work out massively, maybe not. I'm not accustomed to seeing the flanking Milio or the Milio on the push waiting to maybe force a pick onto anyone at all, but it could be fun if it works out. Everyone else though waiting on their typical spots trying to see if any sort of vision is going to go down, and only one ward has been going down so far.
Yeah. We will have our eyes open on where the initial invade will come on through. Does look like Wenwin's going to try to force his hand here and at least get somewhat of an aggressive ward down. It will not be able to be matched by Calamity. We'll keep eyes on Halls for the early stages.
And it is going to be also Halls because of all that. They knew that this was happening, so Halls starting bot side. Maybe going to be instead an attempt at going for red buff level 2 on the side of Flippers instead. But this depends on who has the control over bot side and mid lane in this situation. And I don't think Miss Fortune or Star will be able to push a lot of the issue here before the Milio Lucian.
Yeah. We'll keep our eyes open. I think Penti is especially going to be in a rough position at level 1 here. So you really need to be brawling for the wave. Perhaps more so than your poke damage, but Icade dedicating a lot towards the harass there onto Inflame. And this level 2 will be secured for Omibro and Inflame first. It's going to get real dangerous real fast as Icade is already taken to half HP. The Flippers bot lane have them right where they want them.
Yeah, really good start. Pretty different from the previous game, but working out massively well for them. Also, Ush doing a really good job at putting a little bit of pressure here into Loney, pushing the wave, getting a lot more control in their favor. And also this means that the Pantheon will have quite a good amount of free time. Not going to get contested at all inside of the spots at jungle, not going to have to worry about the Maokai or anyone else trying to do anything inside of the jungle, and can even set up for a potential play later on if he really wants to try and force something. The Sion also, even though he's suffering a little bit here.
Ooh.
And
nice little read by Pentius there. I mean, he goes in with a headbutt right as Omibro goes in with Relentless Pursuit, so kind of nullifies the harass pattern out of the Lucian there. Kind of just hands Icade about 200 HP on a silver platter there at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's a cute execution, works out really nicely, and it means that now you're able to, at the very least, force Lucian into trying to be a little bit more wary. And even then, in the next attempt to engage, immediately responded to.
Yeah, I like this pattern that they're going for with the Alistair pick. Just you're on Lucian duty. You press headbutt whenever Cozy Campfire comes out, and that'll allow IK to somewhat play the game. I mean, obviously, there's a significant CS lead building up for Omibro and Inflame, and that's not really going to stop. But it's a play pattern, if nothing else. Halls is arriving at the top lane, meanwhile, going to try to set up Trey Dog. Arbrio flashes away, but he held on to the twisting advance. And this very well might be a kill. Nice use of that blow to knock him back away. It will be a first blood over to Calamity and Trey Dog.
Extremely easy first blood up there in the top side. As soon as Arbrio walks too far forward, it's so easy for them to lock them down. And that's the thing about the double root. It's so easy to get it onto any champion. And even if you're a tank, if you get locked down for so long, you're bound to end up dying eventually, especially when you don't have a lot of resistances so far in the game. So really good kill they were able to find, as also just going to stop Wenwing here.
Yeah, nice blast there out of Lonnie as well. Just going to continue to keep Aj at bay as the two junglers do find themselves interacting a little bit more frequently. A great start for Calamity to be able to pull off that play on top side, and
Yeah.
Wenwen not with a lead this time. I mean, traditionally throughout this whole series, I know it's still pre 5 minutes, but it's been Halls looking for ganks, not always succeeding, and Wenwen getting farm advantages off of it, but has not played out that way so far in game number 3.
Yeah, this time around it's just been pretty consistent for both sides. One gang in favor of Halls though, but for Wenwen, it's not like he has been finding a lot of opportunities there. Trade-off is out of mana, so that's why you see the straights being much more in favor of RBO at this point, but as soon as he teleports back, it's going to be much better for the Rise in that situation. Penty is once again, he's just going to keep up with the strategy, push away the Lucian, stop him from doing anything, and not be a not factor in this game.
Yeah, it's paying off just fine. I'm surprised that we didn't see Trey Dog go for the reset there, but I guess he wants to make sure he doesn't miss the XP on this. He's also farming first strike on this Scion, so he gets a little bit of gold off just that auto attack there.
Yeah, 10 more gold is better than not having those 10 more gold. So I'll take that every other time.
Oh my god, he interrupts another one.
That's going to be bothersome though. That is actually bad because that is going to make you lose a little bit of minions though. Oh, Omi.
Yeah. Ooh. Extended trade here. First time Omi Bro actually gets to trade with the cozy campfire on him. I mean, is Omi Bro or Trey Dog, is he gonna eat cookies to get mana back? I mean, that is an option you can take, but he's just gonna recall.
He finally will get his chance to recall. Although Maokai is coming here on the side. This actually could be a chance just to try and kill the Scion. Once again,
they're going to look for it. Yep, the trap has been set, and it looks like it's going to be snapped shut here. Halls just knocks him away. Trey Dog bringing in the whole squad, brings all the minions over past, and they will be able to take down Arbrio here. This is going to actually deny him the CS as well. He's not going to be able to clear out the wave.
Or maybe he can... No, he's not. He's just going to hit... Oh, wait, Penty is...
Oh, Penty is so close to falling down, but the summoner heal will keep him alive. Icade actually got a recall off there, was able to perk up a BF sword. Is a little bit behind in CS for it, but gets to come back to lane.
Oh, Ash actually
all in, looking for the solo kill, just gets it. Lonnie 1v1 against Aj, takes him down and puts Calamity on the board with the feat of warfare.
Yeah, screaming to the face of Aj, you may be ahead in CS, but you're not ahead in kills anymore. Really good kill by Lonnie there, forcing the kill onto Aj effectively, and even though they lose the dragon, they get so much more body over on the top side. Kill onto Arbo, kill onto Aj, and then also able to not die in the bot side. That's a huge win already in my books. So effective all around.
And Calamity, a solid early start in this game number 3. Looking to make, again, by seeding, not a crazy huge lead, but and still a substantial when you find what these two teams looked like coming into the night, right? They were very close on seed, but Calamity certainly huge underdogs here compared to what we've seen from the players.
Yeah, the expectation was that one team was going to be the favorite over the other, and the other needed to do a little bit of catch-up, but the catch-up looks on the other side. I would say, like, for the 3 games, Calamity has had a better early game in general, just because of how they played a lot of the situations, and it's flippers that have been able to turn around thanks to good map play and trying to move better as team, but at this point, Ami...
Right, breaking out here. Trey Dog going to be forced to flash away. Pentius lands the pulverized headbutt combo, but it's after Trey Dog has already flashed away. So they won't be able to get too much back. I'll have to fall back underneath this tower.
Yeah, that soccer football kick actually not connecting there by implementing that. Not the best thing there. Actually connecting it now, but you can see also that the damage, because of the fact that Lucian, even though was able to get a lot of damage, but doesn't necessarily has a lot of health in comparison, cannot be once again going as aggressive. Because Stray Dog, for the flash that he blew away, still can fight back against Omi really effectively, and if Omi goes too far forward and Penty is able to get a knockdown there, he can actually force a secondary lockdown by Trey Dog and get a kill, so he has to be careful a little bit there.
Definitely. So, nice little 1k gold lead to Calamity early on, especially with the scaling up on the rise. Very good for them here. He completes the Rod of Ages here at 9 minutes. Good pace for Trey Dog to be able to pick up that item, so at 19, going to be fully stacked up.
Early Rod, early good enough amount of damage to try and make it work out. And he's also trading once again position, so that's going to be the Rise going against the Sion once again, stacking that tier much more effectively here than compared to going against the Lucian. And it also means that Arbro is going to try and have to survive a little bit longer here. The CS deficit, though, has gone down. It's not the same as it was a little bit before. And the Rise, even if he gets ahead, it's still good enough for the Sion, in my opinion.
Should be. And just continue to stack on up. Should be able to get the double stacking item build done well ahead of schedule, thanks to continuing to farm up with this first strike. It's a great situation for Trey Dog all in all here, 10 minutes in. I think this is exactly what Calamity were hoping for out of the pick. Exactly what they were hoping for out of their Jace as well, who's been able to pick up a solo kill. It's everything going according to plan for them, and they've been able to kind of nullify the bot lane, at least thus far. Certainly something to be feared in the mid game as well, but the fact that they've stayed pretty much even with Icade and Pentius, I mean, this is about their best lane performance so far.
Yeah, it's the most manageable one they have been able to pull off so far, especially against double range. It's much better, the fact that not only did they not die, but they were able to handle a lot of the bad situations, and Aegis was able to keep up in farm really effectively. He was, I think, 10 CS down at some point, but now he's back to even. Essentially, he hasn't died at all, hasn't been forced to use Flash or Barrier at all either. Just in general. Oh, here comes Champion, Wenwin.
Yeah, I mean, Trey Dog should be able to get out of this. Wenwin can't collapse the gap fast enough. And it'll be a nice, easy escape from Trey Dog. He'll be able to TP back. Wenwin showed. So now Halls gets a chance to exert some pressure on the bottom lane. Calamity kind of playing the most calm, controlled game we've seen out of them so far. And Lipper's not able to produce answers. See if they look for this dive here. Nature's Grasp is available.
They will. The dragon is coming up, so I feel like they probably want to try and collect this. They want to secure the next objective, plus be closer to those like Fate of War that they are able to get in their favor. And like you're mentioning, the fact that they are playing this game a little bit slower means that the more advantages they get without having to commit more kills or anything like that, going to be much better for them. So far, this is the right plan to try and attempt.
Yep, and I mean, Aj just taking a recall in mid. Lonnie's able to come over and join this. They're going to get this dragon. Easy peasy. Move up to 2-0 in the objective count. Pentius is looking to interrupt recalls. Very nice ultra mega fire kick there from Inflame. Going to stop the headbutt and going to allow Bro to take the recall. But they will keep Inflame trapped here for a while. They will crash another wave, and I think they can get a plate here with their grubbies if they want it, but they're just going to take the recall timer.
Yeah, I don't want to risk it at all. I'm probably better for the Misfortune to try and collapse or fight here in a situation where you're not going to be extremely behind Evolution, because that way your traits are going to be much more meaningless compared to that. So probably the better idea to just back away here and try and come back with a similar advantage. Not going to be the same though. Actually not going to have the same amount of damage as the Lucian. Lucian did complete his first item, Misfortune doesn't. So it's going to just be slightly up for the Misfortune here.
Yeah. IK just a little short on money there, like you call out. Some of that's the plate. Although here comes Wenwin in off the man drop. Nice flash from Trey Dog, going to avoid the decimating smash. Will he be able to escape? Now here comes an engage in the bottom lane. Bro is found, and IK will get that kill, so it's a cross map 1-for-1. But the priority target is claimed there for both sides.
It's 1-for-1, but there is a better push in the top lane, so that means that they probably can try and collapse onto this turret and get more gold in their favor compared to just the normal push that the side of Calamity's trying to make in the bot side. That being said, I really like the play that they pulled up. I'm not sure if it was noticeable or not, but Pentius once again walking into the middle brush in the bot lane, waiting for the Lucian to push a little bit more, and then at that time Maokai was coming downwards as well. Misfortune was already coming back to lane.
Well, actually,
he just set up perfectly.
I actually think Lonnie makes this trade super positive because they get 3 plate top side split between Scion and Pantheon, but Calamity gets 1 plate bot into Misfortune and 2 plates mid into Jace. So Calamity actually, I think, are way happier with the allocation, and everybody trades evenly on number of plates and number of kills.
Yeah, in general, the gold is like you're mentioning, more spread out. But the people that benefit from that goal is going to be the main difference maker here. And the Misfortune now completes his first item. Same for the Jace, gets his first item as well. Everyone is just finding the right amounts of gold to be able to complete their items. Only one that is kind of sad is the Maokai. But even then, you want your Maokai to be sad. You want your Jason Misfortune to be happy, and Rise as well.
Yeah, it's a sacrifice you should be willing to make. You can see some of the individual gold leads. The biggest Trey Dog in that top lane, a little bit over 500 gold ahead on this Rise, continuing to harass out Arbrio, continuing to benefit from the first strike even after having died earlier on. And now this this Rift Herald going to very likely be the next thing to be thought of. The only thing I want to see about this Rise coming in the later game is I wonder how bad it's going to feel to not have Phase Rush on late game Rise.
Nah, he's not going to feel it after blowing up someone with like 3 spells or something like that. Although
Sure.
it may be a difference maker if he gets like locked down in position after one initial engage. That probably is where he feels sad about it. But in general, I just feel like he will deal so much damage that it doesn't matter.
Very possible. Lonnie finding a nice little trade angle up against Aj once again. Does manage to buffer away the smack, but he's going to have to jump away to the skies to the minions to create some distance away from the Chaos Storm. Trey Dog still trading with Arbrio here. Can't get outside of the decimating smash. Arbrio has ultimate here. Going to use it to knock him up, calling over Wenwin, and it's just a trap set up perfectly by Arbrio. Secure another kill. Now a numbers advantage on this side of the map, as the Rift Herald is going to be the thought.
Yeah, at the end there, Trey Dog taking so many trades, but he was just attacking a tankier Sion. Arbrio now has reached a point where, yes, he's going to take damage, but it's not going to be enough damage to be killed immediately. So he's going to last long enough. And as soon as the Pantheon comes in that has a good amount of gold, it's going to be completely fine. As, yeah, the double up hurts.
Yeah, especially when you execute the minion with it for the double damage. Lonnie just redeploying down towards bottom. Trey Dog is now respawned, and the Rift Herald is still up and alive. It's going to get reset here.
How's this on the back?
Yeah, Calamity's still looking to play for it, and like you called out, yeah, Hall's looking for the flank here. Is going to throw down the ultimate. This is going to be roots onto multiple members. Omibro going to get it cleansed away. Nicely done by Inflame to use the Breath of Light to nullify that ultimate out of the Maokai, but now the ultimate's going to be down. Penty is taking up at the front line, does have the Unbreakable Will to stay standing. Aj arrives with a laser off to the side. Decimating Smash not going to find the knockup. Trey Dog going to continue to fight backwards. Penty finds Omibro. Here's Pantheon onto the back line. Penty has already flashed back away. Trey Dog looking for the last bit of damage. IK trying to support him with it. They do not have their mid laner. Trey Dog going to get knocked up. Here's Penty is trying to extend the play, going to allow one to go through, but Aj will finish the job with a flash into the face of Trey Dog as he completes 2 more. Icade has been able to kite out successfully up against Wenwin, so it's 3 for 3 at the end of the day. No clear advantage, but Lonnie has been pushing in the bot lane the whole way through, so I guess there is.
Yeah, I disagree. It's a clear advantage for Calamity there. It's a 3-4-3 in a 5v4 situation. That is such a good initial play by Hall, finding the back part of the team from the side of Flippers, able to maximize the value from Arcade's ultimate, even though then Trey Dog arrives a little bit later, and then Ash also arrives here, able to provide a lot of damage. Omi dies immediately. If he stays longer alive, he probably can play this fight much better, but he dies way too quickly. I think Wenwin plays this really well, able to lock down Trey Dog, then flashes away so that he forces Alkid into a really bad spot, and then having to take away the damage from the Misfortune. And then on the bot side, Trey Dog able to get the kill. He dies, but at the very least, he's able to buy enough time so that they get a kill back, they kill the Pantheon, and then the Jace is still comfortably on the bot side.
Fight breaking out in the picture, and picture Penty is taking a ton of damage, doesn't have the ultimate back yet, and he will be finished. One more spear from Wenwin will secure the kill, and it's only a 1k gold for Calamity now. Game 3, pressure is on, and it is neck and neck, because it's looking like it's going to be a cross-map trade. Flipper's already working on that dragon. Calamity need to start off the Rift Herald if they want this to be a clean trade. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves contested. But mid is getting pushed by Omibro. Calamity a little slow on the play.
It's just not going to be enough for them to be able to find that place, although Hawes once again on the back.
Spotted. Here's the ultimate Breath of Light. Will let them get out of this one. The knockback going to connect. They're going to focus it down onto Inflame first, and Halls will be able to claim the kill. So it's a kill for the dragon. Calamity need to secure this Rift Herald to make it more worth it.
How did Hells get 2 similar flanks in the same way so far this game? Both times finding Omi and Inflame so badly positioned, and at the end forcing another kill onto Inflame, and also that double up almost killed Omi in that position. But really good by them, really well played by Calamity in those situations, and now Trey Dog actually completes both his scaling items. He is going to be a beast.
Yeah, Loney, though, getting dove in the bottom lane. Aj throws out the full combo. No escaping the stun. And Wenwin will secure the kill. Ilse will give them the tower as well, but that was Rift Herald taken by Calamity. So somewhat of an objective trade, but no kill to be traded.
Yeah, no kill realistically, but getting the kill and the trade on the side of Flipper is really, really important. And Ash, even though he's not really extremely far ahead, he has been able to fight really well against Lonnie, has 2 kills to his name, good amount of CS lead as well, and it's going to be pretty much on his back to be able to control the pace of this game. Yes, Zombie has a good amount of damage at this point, but realistically, he hasn't been able to get a lot of space to be able to do that damage and control the fights in his favor. It's going to be on Ash to be able to find the dead lasers, to find the ultimates in multiple positions, and be able to control the tight spaces very well.
That is going to be the ask. So they will be pushed on out here. Rise hanging around in the top lane, continuing to clear on out waves, continuing to get stronger and stronger. I think Trey Dog's probably got a fair bit of money in his inventory. He might be able to buy a legendary item straight up once he does take his next recall. And he gets the jump on Aj here, goes for the max damage combo and gets a little bit more than half of his HP. There is more members from Flippers waiting around in the wings. Hall's going to find them here before too long. Wenwin coming in for the collapse. Will he look for the jump in? Will not, as he finds Halls.
He really wanted to, but as soon as he saw the other champions nearby, decided against it. It makes complete sense in that position, and it just means that we're going to wait until the next time there's going to be a fight happening. Objective-wise, 240 for Dragon means that it shouldn't be soon enough, but maybe just trying to force into a turret or something like something else can be the most ideal decision in that position.
Absolutely here. Halls in and around red buff. Securing it for himself here. Gonna donate the extra over to Icade. We've got ourselves 2 minutes to go until this next dragon. Don't want to give Flippers the sole point if you are Calamity, so expect to see a little bit of focus around this one. He's going to be on the opposite side of the Otacon this time around, as it's a more action around top lane focused game. See if that ends up making the difference here in what can be cross-mapped for and what cannot.
They're just waiting now. It's just a wait, playing the waiting game, seeing what the next objective will fall into. Multiple members already completing their secondary items, and everyone is just trying to be as strong as possible. But with the context of the game makes sense. We need to remember that this is the elimination game, right? Whoever makes the mistake could potentially cost their team the qualification here to the next round, so you don't want to be that guy. As they are forcing
Flash
here
out from Lonnie. There's going to be Arbrio getting knocked further and further in, but he's going to find the knock-up onto Icade. Icade going to drop it. Arbrio is just tanking everything. He completely ignores the tower, and Pentius knocking him deeper in. What a punish from Flippers. Huge shock blast keeps all 3 members low. Hall's going to come in here with Lonnie on the flank to try to cash out something. And where is Traydog? He's deep behind enemy lines. Omibro finally going to take down another. Traydog comes in on the flank. Arbrio is invincible. He refuses to fall, and Calamity just can't get anything off of this play. It's only Wenwin dropping for 3.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough there, and that play is so well done by the side of Flippers, utilizing their huge tank in the form of Arbrio, forcing it so that Miss Fortune was going to die immediately. Even though she gets an ultimate that hits a lot of people, it's not big enough value because she gets forced out of position immediately. She has to flash away, and even then, the Scion doesn't even think anything about that fight. He's just tanking the turrets happily, waiting for his team to follow up, and with the amount of damage plus numbers advantage that they had, it was such an easy fight to be able to close down, and now it's waiting to see what that gold will turn into. If that's enough to win the next dragon fight in favor of Flippers, or if there is a chance for Calamity to try and answer back.
And you know, with the power of hindsight, I think you really gotta hate the headbutt back in onto Arbrio. Yeah. I mean, if you just knocked him away, you had Traydog pressuring the side lane. I think it could have been much better. Here's another engage potentially on towards Arbrio's Scion. Takes a big shock blast. Now everybody is forced to step up into the stun field. It leaves Halls alone here. He's not going to be able to get any further. A charge forward from Arbrio. Lands onto Icade. Here's Pantheon out of the back line. It's a double kill to Omibro already. They get 3. Icade getting chased down for 4 total. Flippers going to get themselves sole point as they win out on another fight.
This Sion is being game defining there, able to not only tank up so much damage, but also being able to re-engage and find multiple opportunities. And here, even though the initial idea is not necessarily bad, the angle that Haas is at, then following up on this is really, really bad. Your composition doesn't really want to be the first to initiate. You want to play off of the initiation as best as possible, find an angle for Misfortune to throw her ultimate completely, and also poke with Lonnie. But I didn't remember enough shot blast from Lonnie to be able to shred multiple members, and then Alkid was left in a spot where she was going to be forced in, as well as they're trying to force something here, but it doesn't look like it's going to pan in to turn into anything else.
Arbrio's Scion is absolutely tremendous this game, and engaging onto him is just not an option. He's absorbing these shock blasts like they do not matter. And they need to find them on a more critical targets before they can feel comfortable starting these fights, or be on a deeper flank, because the front to back, it's looking so good. Aj played that last fight so well, controlling space on the ramp, finding lasers, finding a stun field that just completely isolates Halls from the rest of his team and puts Flippers into a winning position, as only 200 gold separate these two teams, but the objectives looking very strong for Flippers.
Yeah, the gold is not the one that you have to look at. You have to look at what the gold is being transformed into, and it's a really strong Lucian, a really strong picture, and a really tanky Sion, as well as having just control over certain parts of the map that are going to be much more efficient than just having a slight gold lead. So all in all, for Flippers, this is the ideal thing that they needed to have. And now also they will have enough control to be able to threaten pattern whenever they wanted to. Traydog has no teleport. Lonnie is about to have teleport, I think, back up, unless I'm getting trolled by the image, but he's the only one that will have teleport, but he's already there topside. So if they force heavily onto the Baron buff, maybe they can turn it into something really important there, or the Anakin as well.
Yeah. Side lane pressure still quite strong for Calamity when they are able to get it, but there's going to be a play forced in. It's going to be the Otacon, started up by Flippers here. And Calamity a little bit too slow on the response. It's at 5k HP. Can Halls get in here? He's not very tanky. He's going to have to flash, but he doesn't have it. And Thornbound Otacon secured by Flippers. Traydog still trying to get that pressure going in the bottom side. That's a freebie for Flippers here.
You're trying to push a little bit more down there, probably going to be able to put damage onto the turret, but not enough to take it down. And it's just difference at how they are moving right now for Flippers. They found their lead at one point, and they have been able to just stick with it really effectively, where Calamity is kind of flip-flopping between what the best choice is going to be and what can they really make work out here. As they are trying to collect vision, they are trying to deny vision onto this Baron buff, and they are also trying to just put themselves in a better spot to be able to go for the Baron buff.
Now, going to be a regrouping, a resetting for this next dragon. 2 minutes to go until a potential soul for Flippers, securing themselves the Chemtech soul. Not as strong as the Hextech soul, but still another strong permanent buff for them to get to complement the Otacon that they have already received. And given how frequently they've been surviving at slivers of HP throughout the night, might even have a lot of extra value from that Chemtech Drake. We'll have to see where the focus is going to be. 90 seconds to go on the spawn. And currently a reset occurring for Flippers just to get those last bits of gold spent. 3 legendary items basically across the board. Arbrio not quite done with his second. Or third, rather.
It still lasts long enough that it doesn't really matter. That's the scary part about it.
Yeah, definitely is here. Grouping up around the bottom side of Halls. 3 stands up with the rest of his team, going to throw down some of these saplings well in advance. The top lane going to be pushing for Arbrio here. And they're setting a trap for Traydog that he does not appear to be biting.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's going to fall victim to anything there. It's just going to be push on one side, push on the other, and waiting for that last dragon to spawn, which it's the unlucky part of having objectives be so far in between. The 5 minutes of Doom of some have said, but it's going to be what stacks up into the next fight and what will be the game-defining moment, feels like. Because if Flippers can win that fight effectively, that's Baron buff, that's probably going to be enough to just be able to push into the base effectively. Where if Calamity wins it, with their split push, they can try and force a lot onto the base from Flippers as well.
Yeah, they definitely can, as Arbrio holding the front line here. Calamity already finding it a little bit difficult to try to approach, even though they were the first ones here. Trey Dog is taking a reset. I think he's got a purchase. But there's going to be Lonnie getting hit by the knockup. The TP being channeled. Trey Dog going to get here a little bit late. Just finished off the Rabadon's death cap. But Arbrio on the front line. Big bullet time from Icade going to chunk Arbrio. So Arbrio's in a sliver of HP, but he manages to escape. Penti is still standing as well. All 10 players still alive on Summoner's Rift as Trey Dog regroups with the 4th item completed. Did he sell boots for this as he's coming back to regroup? He's so slow here, but here's the roam warp onto the back line. Trey Dog not actually going to take it here. Coming in to try to find them. Goes into the root. Locks down Aj. Trying to blow him up. Bro takes a big chunk as well, but nobody getting finished off. As Lonnie going to get chunked down low as well. Pantheon chasing down Trey Dog, and no boots means that this guy is a sitting duck. They're focusing on the dragon, though. They should be able to secure it. It's taken by Aj off a laser. Chemtech soul secured. Bro is godlike as the members of Calamity start to fall. Icade getting chased down by Arbrio, and the Flippers may have just found their ticket into the next round.
Well, they need to close out the Nexus first, but they certainly are closer to that. With that Dragon Soul already taken, they are moving forward to Baron buff, and with so many strong members, this should be the Baron buff going down. And that fight looked like it could be Calamity's. Arbro was forced into backing away way before that, but he was stopped and then forced into backing once again. Trey Dog is coming in with Rabadons, like you were mentioning, no boots. And at that point, it looked like the damage was going to be enough, but as the re-engage happened, there's not enough damage to close out on the kill. It just doesn't work out effectively. Look here, Arbrio is about to die, actually, not in this play, but when he tries to flash away because of the bullet time, plus the damage from Trey Dog. Like, those two things actually dealt quite a bit to Arbrio, but it doesn't die here. Then nobody dies, the fight goes long, Arbrio gets a stop here in his back. That is so pivotal, because here should have been the game-defining moment. 5v4, so much damage coming down, but not enough follow-up onto the engage from the Alistar meant that they're going to take way too long to follow up on this, and then when the Siren arrives, that's a team fight that is completely lost, because you're in low numbers, low damage, not enough members, and us just stealing the dragon, which is sad.
Emilio hosing Maokai this game, by the way. Hall's continuing to find some really nice Nature's Grasp angles, but Flippers are giving it to him proudly because they just press ultimate out of Inflame and they shrug it off. Trey has to start working on those boots again. We didn't get to see it in the replay because we don't show items, but Trey dumped his Merc Treads to finish this Rabadons for this fight, and it did not work out for him. So losing a fair bit of gold value there as well. And Calamity now just under immense pressure. The Otacon buff, the Dragon Soul, the Baron buff, all being worn by Flippers in this siege.
Radican, Baron, something like that, and it's kind of difficult to stop it from just going forward as they are going to take down the turrets. The engage is happening though.
Yeah, they're focusing in on the Win gets away with a sliver once again, and Arbrio's in on the flank. A massive Chaos Storm out of Aj will continue to pump out the damage, and a 5-for-0 ace will end game number 3. Flippers on the back foot for a solid chunk of the last 2 games will come out with the win, and they will advance to top 12. Calamity Esports are eliminated from ACL.
Calamity tried their hardest. I think they played a really good series, especially in the early stages. But Flipper's experience probably carrying them in a lot of those situations because they read the map state and the way to play it much, much better, and they pull it off at the end. Huge props to Arbrio. I think had 2 back-to-back games on kind of, well, Gragas kind of a tank, but much more damage oriented. But this side game was really, really good. Understanding his role, tanking effectively, and being that huge mid shield for his team. But the clear MVP to me is Ash. Played 3 amazing games. Every game he was a threat. And this last one, even though his scoreboard is not necessarily higher than that of Ami on the Lucian, he did so much damage and so much control for the team.
Absolutely here. And I mean, what a comeback here from Flippers in this game number 3 as well. The rise getting so accelerated, and you can see it on the gold graph. It's about a 2k gold lead for nearly 15 minutes here, being rocked by Calamity, feeling confident, feeling like they were executing the way that they needed to. But like you said, a couple of really clutch fights out of Aj And I got to give a lot of credit to Inflame here as well. I mean, it's not like he invented Melio Lucian or anything. It's a strong duo
He played
on
well,
its
yeah.
face, but they snapped that up. Remember the draft, it was instant after they saw the Maokai, and you saw why. Breath of Light just hosing that champion completely in a lot of moments that could have been huge game winners, with the combos with Misfortune Ultimate just turn into nothing.
Exactly. Just meant that at that point it was really difficult for them to like play it up. And actually, funnily enough, you asked a question during the mid game, or I think early to mid game, for the Rise not taking the face rush. And it kind of mattered in a lot of those situations where he was just a tad bit too far away or too slow to be able to get on top of multiple champions. And that could have been the difference between him being able to kill someone or him being able to survive. So slight differences that could have impacted the game. At the end, it goes the way of Flippers because of those slight differences. But I want to still give huge props to Calamity. Nobody expected them to be able to like go higher and higher. They surprised really well in the tournament. They played really well in the ACL. A couple of members probably didn't even have the experience in the ACL. So I'm glad that they were able to perform, and hopefully we can see them more in the future.
Absolutely here. Looking to see if we can secure an interview with anybody from Flippers here. If you are on Flippers and are listening to stream right now, go and check your channel in Aegis. They're trying to get a hold of you and see if you would like to do an interview. You don't want to, no big deal. But if you do, now's your time. Right after a win here on broadcast. Either way, big congratulations to Flippers here. It was a hard-fought series, and you know what? I got to give it to Calamity here. That really impressive stuff from 5 guys who really nobody quite expected anything from. I mean, they come up with a tier 2 seed because we're pure rank seeding this split. We'll see if that continues in the future of ACL, but for now, it's the case. And they're high-ranked players, so they get themselves a solid little seed. But as you'll see from the pick'ems, I don't think there was a huge amount of favoritism towards Calamity, but they make the playoffs and they put up a really good fight here up against Flippers, a tier 1 seeded team.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end, I'm glad that we were able to see them play like this, and we were able to watch them fight against teams like Flippers that already had a bit of expectations. So it's all good, and it's exciting to see how they are going to perform after this as well.
Absolutely here. And it looks like we do have Aj for a post-game interview. So we are going to throw it to a quick break here. When we get everything set up with Aj, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to talk with the Flippers mid laner. Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the ACL, where we are joined by the victorious Aj from Flippers. A hard-fought 3-game series, but you guys come up with it and move on to top 12. Congratulations, Aj.
Thank you, thank you.
Want to start things off and talk about this squad a little bit. We haven't gotten to feature you guys too much over the course of this season, but kind of coming in with a little bit of a revamped roster. It feels like Omi Bro and Inflame have been gelling really well. Arbrio, kind of a newer face around comp. How do you guys kind of build this team up together, and how do you feel like you guys gel together as a squad?
Well, for me personally, when it comes to playing competitive, I like to play with people with a lot of experience. Now, Arbrio, as you said, is kind of new, but our bot lane has a ton of experience. Wen obviously has a lot of experience. I have a lot of experience. So I like having that solid foundation and baseline, right? And that kind of gives you like natural synergy, you know what I mean? Because everyone already kind of knows what they're doing up to a certain point, and then all the like extra layers on top of it just make it a lot easier. So that's kind of how we built it up. We started with like good foundation, and we just add layers. Like, okay, like I'm good at melee champs, right? So we can practice me on melee champs when on some kind of tank, right? Or Inflame likes playing Engage, right? So we try to play Engage, or we like Lucian, so we play Milia, right? That's kind of how we think about it.
Yeah, and in general, it's a good way to try and mix things up, especially in a fearless format like we have here, where there's a lot of variables that can happen and a lot of things that can come through. It can work out really well, but it can also happen like in the second game where a lot of things explode really quickly. And I'm curious with how things went in that second game to bounce back, because I feel like a lot of that game, I would say that it kind of inches onto some decisions that are questionable more so than what the other team did in a lot of parts. And I'm kind of curious how you guys bounce back after that.
Yeah, so like before we talk about that, I want to talk about like why these problems even happen for us, because this is something that we've really struggled with, where it's one of those things where we have one person has an idea of a play, but either we're too fast or we don't see where other people are, or we're making a call, and like somebody will make a call, all of a sudden we're like no, but then we still commit, right? So that's kind of what happened and manifested in that game. And so the way we bounce back, right, from that is actually comes down to just slowing it down, tracking where everyone is, tracking our own conditions, seeing where everyone is on the map, including ourselves as well. And that's what we tried to implement in game 3. I think it worked a lot better because we're actually communicating, okay, like, look, I'm Victor, I can't be at this play, I don't have E-Evolve, you know what I mean? Whereas the second game, it's like, go, they're on Drake, and then all of a sudden I'm on Vessel ulting, Rel's already dead, and it just looks like it just looks like we're inting. So that's kind of how we bounce back.
Very good. Yeah, you alluded to it a little bit there on talking about game number 3, but I do want to talk about how that game transpired a little bit more as well. We were talking about in the post game is about a 2K plus lead held by Calamity kind of the whole way through for about 15 minutes up until you guys kind of take a couple decisive fights and start winning. The rise was super accelerated. What kind of was the what the comms and the game plan like to try to get yourself back into that game number 3 and make the comeback happen?
Yeah, to be honest, it was really chill, like, because we came into the game already with a plan that, like, we're going to fall behind 2,000, 3,000 gold, 4,000 gold early game, right? Like, Jace is good into Victor in lane. Our bot lane, like, can't really help me, right? Milio can't really come mid for Victor. Rise is a counter pick into Sion. But we knew we had the better composition holistically. Like, Victor is so OP in that game, right? Jace won't grasp, so he doesn't have that much threat into me in the side lane, right? So honestly, we were fine, right? Like, we were perfectly fine scaling into the game. We had the first Drake. The comms were just chill. We were just waiting. And then the second I got 2 upgrades on my Q and E and Ludens, we just went, and the game was fine, even though we were down 2,000 gold, right?
Yeah, it really showed with how some of those late game fights transpired and how a lot of that ended up being as effective as possible. And I'm kind of curious as well, with the idea of obviously playing those melee champions, but also being able to play the Victor as well. I'm kind of curious how you see yourself in the team. Do you see yourself like the stable rock or like the hyper carry? What sort of position do you feel like you have in this sort of team?
Yeah, I would just say for me personally, not even just team oriented, my play style is I'm someone who likes to make plays on my own, right? So I like to play champions that can win in the side lane, right? Things that are very self-sufficient. So I'd say that's my place in the game. I'm stable and I can be a hyper carry, but it's always about what can I do? Like how can I gather my own resources? How can I be self-sufficient and we can spread out, you know, like again, like with Emilio can just play bot lane, right? And we don't got to worry about mid dying, right? Or Panther can play his conditions on full clear. So that's how I see myself. I'm like somebody who can just be very self-sufficient, and I excel at the champions that can be self-sufficient as well.
Good stuff. Well, with this win, you guys move on to lower round 2. You'll be playing up
Yep.
against Pookie Bear there. Sean, their mid laner, and the rest of that squad had a pretty good season so far. Any thoughts heading into that matchup?
No, honestly, I don't really care about what team I play against. I just try my best, right? They're going to probably ban Yone. They're going to ban Azir. I'll figure out my picks, keep grinding the solo queue. So, yeah, to be honest, I don't know. It could be anybody.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Anything more for you, TDS?
No, I think that for that now, it's fine. We can wait and see them once again going against Pookie Bear. And it's going to be exciting seeing everyone fighting it out for elimination from now on as well.
Good stuff. Well, last word goes to you, Aj. Anybody you want to shout out? Anything you want to say to those still tuned in?
I mean, of course, shout out to my teammates, right? They played a really, really good game this good series tonight. I think Omi was really good on the Lucian. Inflame was good with his comms. 1-1 was good on his tempo. Arbrio, played his role perfectly as a top laner. So I'm just major shout out to my team. We finally are getting some steam going because we've had a rough few patches. Not gonna lie, but we're getting up there. So I'm very proud of them. They did a phenomenal job.
Very, very good. Well, thank you so much, Aj. Congrats again on the win to you and your whole team. Looking forward to what more the Flippers have to show here in ACL for 2025 spring. With that said, we're going to close on out the stream here. We're going to send you guys over to AVL, where they are going to game number 3. Reminder to everybody, we will be live this weekend streaming open qualifiers. We're going to start off with Galaxy Gaming versus the Guild tomorrow. TDS and I will be here with you alongside Caddy to carry through that tomorrow, and we'll be back with more ACL on Monday. We'll be covering the next round of lower bracket matches. So 4 days in a row of uncapped Aegis action. You're definitely going to want to check it out. And for myself, TDS, and Caddy on production, thank you so much for hanging out with us. A reminder, the code for Zen Market is Aegis. That'll get you 1,000 yen off your first international shipping fee. We will see you all next time.
Zen Market.
Zen Market.
Zen Market.
Zen Market.
Zen Market.
Zen Market.
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。